to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Bach? Here. Councilmember Lund? Here. Councilmember West?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Margareta?
Here.
Mayor Edge?
We don't know. Okay, so we have our first agenda item is declaring the election results, a resolution declaring the election results. Connie, what's the resolution number?
That is resolution number 58.
58. Any questions or comments on this item?
No.
Public, no? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, resolution number 2016-58, resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista declaring the results of the general municipal election held on Tuesday, November 8, 2016.
Second.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Lund?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Margareta?
Aye.
And Mayor Edge is absent. 4 members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor that passes 4-0.
Okay, and with that, Mr. Lund. Let's see. We have a lovely parting gift for you this evening.
All right.
2 weeks in Maui. And,
So it says, City of San Juan Bautista, presented to Robert L. Lund, with sincere and grateful appreciation for dedicated service to the citizens of San Juan Bautista on the City Council from December 2012 to November of 2016. Robert, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
thanks.
Okay. And I think with that, we can excuse you and call up our new council members, Freeman DeVries, continuing City Clerk Schobert, and continuing City Treasurer Geiger. Would you all please come forward? Thank you, Robert. Okay. And now we swear in.
Yeah.
So there's evidence. Oh,
Yeah.
Where would you like me to stand?
And I will say the oath, and at the end you'll just acknowledge the in the affirmative. Raise your right hand and state your name. Your name.
Chuck Geiger.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
okay. Grab that. Oh, got it.
I'll sit here in the middle. Why don't you just move over here?
Did you want to move over there
No, let's just.
for this meeting?
Huh?
Yeah, we'll figure out. We're about to do this, so
Yeah.
let's just figure it out now. Okay. Thank you. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome. You guys have everything you need, the agenda and so forth? Okay. Okay, moving right along. Item 2D, selection of new mayor and vice mayor.
I'd like to nominate Chris for mayor for the year 2017.
Second.
Okay, any other?
Councilmember Bach.
Well, I'm sorry, hold on just a moment. If anybody else want to make any other discussion or comments. Oh, okay.
Well, I move nominations be closed.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Connie?
Councilmember Bach.
Yes?
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries.
Yes.
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Mayor Margarita.
Aye.
All members of the council
Thank
being
you.
present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, well, thank you. I guess we can switch
I'd like
places
to,
now.
Switch places, absolutely.
Okay.
I told you it was going to get changed around.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Jim, how are you, buddy? Good to see you.
Yeah, there's water back there, too.
Bear with me, sorry. Okay. So that takes us to selection of the mayor pro tempore, or
I'd
vice
like-
mayor.
I'd like
Oh,
to,
sorry. Please.
nominate Jim West for vice mayor.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Bach.
No,
Well, first,
Any
nomination,
other?
I move nominations be closed.
He's the motion maker. He's the motion maker.
Okay. Connie, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
It's been made, second, and closed, I think.
Councilmember Bach.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
Wait, hold on a second.
Sorry.
What, Robert's Rules of Order, that there was a motion to close the nominations? I don't think that motion
Oh.
had a vote.
Okay.
To close the nomination. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so, there's a motion to appoint Jim West as vice mayor,
Seconded.
and that was seconded,
Correct.
so now that we need a vote on that. There was a motion, there was a second motion to close the nominations, that did not pass. Right?
Well, it needs a second.
It needs a second, so it dies without a second. So it's
That's
just,
without a second.
so it's
Okay,
just,
I'll make the motion again. I move the nominations be closed.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to vote on the motion to close nominations first.
Okay?
Go ahead, please.
This, and
Please.
what's the motion that's on the table?
The closed
To
nominations.
close nominations, okay? All right.
Councilmember Bach.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
yes.
Councilmember DeVries.
No.
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Mayor Margarita.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes 401. Councilmember DeVries voting no.
So therefore, there's one nomination for vice mayor, which is Mr. West.
That's correct.
That's what's on the table. That's the motion. Okay. So now you can have the motion for the vice mayor.
Okay.
Proceed, please. Roll call.
Councilmember Bach.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries.
Yes.
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Mayor Margarita.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. So item number 3 is public comment. This is public comment on items not on the agenda, correct?
Yes.
Do we have any public comment for items not on the agenda? No speaker cards? Okay, closing public comment. The consent items. Approval, affidavit of posting, public hearing notice, which I believe there's a revised copy on the desk for everybody that was distributed. The meetings minutes, the resolution for street closure, and the waiver of reading of ordinances beyond title. Any questions?
Nothing.
Any action?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
And that is with resolution closing the streets with the 21659.
Yes, 59.
Okay.
Councilmember Locke,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Mayor Margarita.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor passes unanimously.
Okay. Number 5, presentations, informational items, and reports. I'd like to start. Dan, could you grab that to the right under there, the unwrapped plaque right there?
Yep.
Sorry, it's right here. Right here, sorry. Okay. If we could get Vanda Guibert. Are you, Vanda's here? I've got also a lovely parting gift for you. This evening we have a plaque from the city of San Juan Bautista presented to Vanda Guibert with sincere and grateful appreciation for dedicated service to the citizens of San Juan Bautista for her time on the Historic Resources Board and Planning Commission from 2006 to 2016. Thanks very much.
Vanda, we want you to stay involved in the city. Promise?
We'll hear a little bit more about that later, actually. There's some news about that a little later. Let's see. So, item 5B, presentation of the fiscal year 2016 audit by Ryan Jolly. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the City Council for having me here tonight. And congratulations to those newly elected. I just have a few brief comments, and then if I can answer any questions if you have any. Just beyond the table of contents is the independent auditor's report. Once again, we issued an unqualified opinion on the City of San Juan Bautista's financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2016. This is a favorable opinion, meaning we found the city's books and records to be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. I'm just going to jump forward to the general fund, since that's the main fund of the city and the one that is that we call a major fund. On page 7, the general fund ended up with a $363,000 increase in fund balance. So the city should be commended for increasing their overall fund balance from $3.2 million to almost $3.6 million. The water and sewer enterprise funds are operating as intended. Nothing out of the ordinary there. You did refund your bond there, which did bring your interest rates down. So that was a wise decision by the city to proceed with that refunding, and will save you quite a bit in interest over the life of that bond. Just as one other brief comment, everything else is pretty standard. On page 28 is a budget to actual comparison for the general fund as well. And the city actually budgeted a $115,000 increase, and as I mentioned earlier, it ended up being $363,000. So the city came out quite a bit ahead of what they originally budgeted as an increase in their fund balance. Just beyond that are the remaining funds of the city. These are considered non-major funds. They're smaller in nature, but all of those are also operating as intended. That's on pages 29 and 30. Also, at the end of the audit report, we issued another audit opinion on the internal controls of the city, and once again, we didn't identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies with your internal controls, so that's also commendable. Lastly, we issued a management report to the City Council. This is giving you some general disclosures from us to you. basically stating that we didn't have any disagreements with management. There were no uncorrected errors that we found. We didn't have to consult with any outside advisors. There's a few other basic disclosures, but there were no exceptions to any of those items as well. So once again, the city did a great job, clean set of books. You can attribute that to your staff. You've got great staff, and Wendy does a great job keeping things current for us as well. So
Good.
Thank you once again for the opportunity to work with the city, and I can answer any questions you have.
I have one comment. If you look at page 3, your totals from the 2010 audit to this audit, we're plus $3 million on our cash and investment balance. Just wanted to point that out, that been doing a pretty good job.
I agree.
Excuse me.
Good. Any questions, comments, gentlemen? Nothing?
No?
Anything?
I'd just like to point out,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, is that I had pointed out to Mr. Jolly that it didn't reflect on this budget, this audit here, but you adopted an interfund resolution and payment, and that will take effect next year, where we'll start whittling away on that $1.8 million
Right.
repay back to the general fund
Right.
from the enterprise.
Right. Okay. Any questions from the public? Yes, sir.
John, do you have some questions too?
Not right now, no.
Okay, well, I do,
Go for it.
because I'm new.
Yeah.
So how much money does San Juan Bautista have in the bank right now?
I could tell you as of June 30, 2016.
That's fine.
Okay.
Let's do that as of
If you go to page 18, it's got 4.2 million. 419,000 of that though is restricted for the debt service of the bonds, the reserve set for those bonds.
Okay,
So-
page 18, they're at 4.206, is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
And how much is restricted
the 419.
of the 4.206?
Yes, so you got basically a little under 3.8 million that's available.
Discretionary.
Yeah.
So maybe I do have a follow-up question. What would be considered a good financial reserve for a city of this size? Would that be a good number then?
Yeah, you guys are, I work with a lot of cities in the Central Valley, and they're nowhere close, and they're much bigger cities, they're nowhere close to a general fund balance that you guys have.
So I think, John, what John's getting at is not necessarily how we compare, but in
Yeah.
good, solid practices, what would be considered a reasonable number
I would
relative
say
to?
at least $1 million, $1.5 million. It depends a lot on different factors, but I think just from what I've seen, in the size of your city, yeah, $1 million to $2 million would be sufficient.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
Are you Mr. Jolly, by the way?
Yes,
You are. This is your firm?
It's actually my father and I were partners, so, but he's slowly slowing down. So.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It happens.
You know, this is televised. You may not want to say that.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Monthly financial statements and treasurer's report. Chuck?
I'm Chuck Geiger. I'm the city council. I'm in the city treasurer. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Jolly. The report looks very solid. He actually covered a lot of my stuff, which is good. What a great name for the season. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Once again, I think the city's doing very well. The thing that we got to keep in mind that we have a lot of big projects coming on board, and don't let the number fool you. The pellet plant, we have to look at our water source, our well drilling. There's a lot of things that are in the works that the council's put together, and we need to realize that a lot of that money is going to come out. Things like repairing streets. Roger has a number of projects that are getting ready to move forward. So I just want to mention to you that we're getting ready to spend some money. I just want the council to be aware of it. This is not some pile of money we've got to spend, because we need to move forward with the pellet plant, especially. And I think our streets need a little bit of work out there. And I know Roger's been talking about it. I've talked to Roger about it, and I know he's trying to line some things up. So I just want the council to be aware of that. It's important. And I imagine when you guys, especially the new council members, I guess you'll get together and meet and talk about the budget and stuff, and take a look at the pieces that are being presented, that have been presented the last several years, and we can move forward. Just a couple comments. Mr. Jolly was, once again, I agree, the general fund is doing well. If you look back, like Mr. Bach talked about, that you look back at 2010, you look at now, we've really, the council's done a good job. And if you look at the enterprise funds, which is our water and sewer, we've gone through some tough times with the water restriction stuff, and we're coming back on board with almost breaking even. So take a look at those numbers. They're also inside your packet. Okay. The cash flow is good. The revenues, once again, we're showing an increase. Once again, it's in your binder. One of the things that we need to be aware of is the decrease in sales tax revenue. All you got to do is drive down 3rd Street, and you're going to see that we have a lot of opportunity to make money. We just got to get people in there. But the sales tax...
What is that decrease, Joe?
I don't have that number, but I'm basically telling you from my paper here that there is a decrease.
But you're in till now. What do you think the decrease is from last year?
I think Roger, would you say about 10%?
10%.
10%, yeah, right.
10% decrease from last year
From last year?
in revenues.
On sales tax from 3rd Street.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of growth in this town. I think we've got some good pieces in place, and hopefully we're going to get some, I see some new businesses opening hopefully soon, and I see good revenue. Okay, so anyway, that, like I said, I think we're still a few months out from it, but we're moving in the right direction. Here, one of the things that the city manager is doing very well is on your expenditures, really trying to keep them in line, and that's an important part. When you're always looking at revenues, you always first do the flip side. What's the expenditures? And if you look in the packet, it talks about we're actually a little lower than budgeted. If you look, about $48,000. General fund. Just a comment on the enterprise fund. The revenues are a little bit higher, about $52,000 at this time in the budget planning phase of what we have in the budget, and due primarily to the higher and anticipated utility revenue, which is coming into the city. Enterprise funds expenses is a little bit lower than what was budgeted by about $40,000 combined with it. And like I said, once again, I thank Mr. Jolly for coming forward and sharing the review that he's made for the city on the audit. And I want to jump over to the warrant listing. Just bring it to the council's attention that there are a couple of big items this month that made us jump up to, well, if you look at the bottom line, we got about 8,000 to 10,000 coming back to us that will be returned to the city. We just have to pay it out, and then it's going to come back as a reimbursement. Notice that the big one, one of the big ones, is we got a new truck for the city. The truck was really a good deal. It was about $17,000, which is a good truck. It costs us about $7,000 to put the equipment on the truck that we need to have. So if you're looking at that number, you think, well, that's kind of high. Remember, we had to put the equipment on the truck that's needed to store tools and stuff. The city of Hollister, once again, that's the fire agreement. Just looking down, we got health benefits. A lot of these numbers, if you look at them, have to do with money being returned to people that, like, for instance, they wanted to rent the community, all deposits and stuff like that. You get down to See the Muni building cost? That has to do with our new advanced system of billing for water and sewer. I think, Roger, are we at 100% now or close to it on the meters being out there?
Very, very close to it, yeah.
Yeah. Most people who live in the San Juan know that there's been this guy that walks around with a meter reader, and we finally moved away from that. We're actually on it now. It's done electronically, so that's good news. That's going to save us money down the road. And so that's the cost there. Looking a little further down, PG&E. It just costs money, electricity. What can I say? The water district. That's a big bill. That's their bill that talks about money, pumping water out of the ground. You know, the water district gets money for everything we pump out of the ground. The state compensation, U.S. Bank, our CPA down there, that's Wendy. Second page, Bracewell. That's our.
Is that a usual expense? Do they usually run 15,000 a month?
It's a little bit high, I think, this month. I think generally runs around, 12 to 13, Roger? But they have to do some more testing, I think. It's one of those things that we want to look at real closely on the Bracewell and make sure that they're doing what they're doing. But obviously that's the building and we have to pay it because of our contract with them.
Sure.
CalPERS jumping down. Ferguson Enterprises. Help me out, but Roger, that was
plumbing.
Yeah.
Fire hydrants, valves.
When you buy valves, some of the valves that are 6-inch, I believe, they're like $1,300. So you don't have to buy many valves before you spend $3,000. So that might look like a big number, but I really don't think that's much. And then you got the Mission Linen Service, state compensation, legal expenses down there. I think that's about it. You see the total's 142, but once again, we're going to recover probably 8,000 to 10,000 of it back, from people that owe us for doing that. So, any other questions?
Yep.
Okay.
One last. Does
Sure.
the income from the sewer on the monthly bills, does it cover the 15,000 usually?
Well, yes, it's all part of the budget, and Bracewell's contract costs are put into the budget, right?
No, we have 700 and some odd homes and
Right.
within the city, and each of them gets a bill for $75 a month for sewer,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah,
If I multiply that out, will that be?
we're
better
a
than-
little better than even.
So, I'm sorry,
It's hard to take a 1-month snapshot into it. Overall, the revenues in the sewer department are $805,000.
Okay.
In the water, it's $765. And Bracewell works in the water department as
Both
well
of
as
them.
the sewer. And so that $17,000 or whatever it is, part of it is the annual water reports, quarterly reports, as well as the sewer operation and stuff. So, but the revenues that we have both at the enterprise of the water and the sewer more than adequately cover Bracewell. And Bracewell really his fees only amount to maybe about 68% of the total revenue. The rest of it is more operational, electrical, and chemicals that we run.
And Roger, wasn't it only 3 years ago we had a rate study?
Yes.
And so we were able
Less
to,
than that.
and if you remember, we had an issue with water where we had tiered, and we can't, I think San Juan Capistrano, there was a lawsuit that said that we can't do that. So we've had to make an adjustment, and I think right now we're doing okay, right? Roger, I agree.
No, and bear in mind is that I mentioned before that the auditor will have reflected next year is the inter-fund government fund that pays back from the enterprise to the thing is $81,000 a year, which is incorporated in that. Plus, the city established what we call a capital reserve. We've identified 12 or 13 sites in our city. This building here needs a new roof, and we've amortized that, where each year we set aside $98,000 to repair the roofs on the community center, the library, this, and that builds up that fund that's going to be there when we need it to replace those things. And so those are two items that come out of a lot of the enterprise as well as the general.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Have a
Chuck.
good holidays.
Okay. Sheriff's report. Do we have anyone from the Sheriff's Department? Doesn't look like it. Okay. And no one from the Fire Department, it would appear. Okay. Yes.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, or Mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Do we normally get a sheriff's report?
It has been pretty sporadic over the last calendar year.
Why is it sporadic?
Because they don't come to the meetings or send us reports.
How much do we pay them per year?
I'd have to say, my recollection is around $130,000.
I thought it was about 172. Eric and I did some research on that.
Yeah, well, okay. So if
Okay.
you add the car, which is
You have to add the car, it's
Well-
part of the deal.
but the car is okay. So it's the car spread over 3 years. So it's not we bought the car last year at,
Sheriff's contract is $161,000.
okay, thank you.
That's $10,000.
Yeah,
One
and
sixty.
we have
Yeah.
in there, this is county communications where we have to supplement that about $28,000 to $30,000. So
Okay.
total budget we included in this year is a private security of a total of $81,000. So the total budget in the law enforcement is $277,000.
Okay. So 161,000.
And again, just because I'm new, what's the understanding as to when those guys, the sheriff's department needs to report whenever they feel like it?
Apparently.
Yeah. Well, they've also said they don't want to announce when they're coming, because if they announce it, then people know. So they come at what they consider random hours.
I think Dan's talking about reports to the council.
Oh, reports to the council. I thought you were
Random
totally.
meetings will only come once
Yeah.
every 3 times.
Last month, they gave us a detailed report on
They made a written
covered,
report.
3 months of arrests and
Yeah.
incidents and stuff like that. And I'm sure that we'll probably getting next month a recap.
Kind of things.
So I think the answer to your question is our expectation is that they would be here monthly, but that has not been the case.
Has not been the case. How often have you all deemed that you want to hear from them? Would once quarterly suffice?
I think we've
we get-
established a director that we'd like to have a monthly meeting, monthly reports.
A monthly report?
Or at least these kind of reports. If we get a monthly report, I don't think they need to come here every
Is
month.
that in the contract, Roger, for the 165 or whatever, that they have to appear here
No.
every month? Maybe it should be.
Maybe it should be.
It's kind of, in my opinion, it's not acceptable for a sheriff's, or the law enforcement agency that we have in this city to not even be here tonight, to give her some kind of report. Robert, you don't work for the sheriff's department, so
I was just going to add that when they do come, they charge us the time.
Yeah.
In the meeting. If they're sitting here, they charge us the time of being in San Juan.
that's ridiculous.
So
We got
let's take that one as a point.
Okay.
We got, and that's per the contract?
Yeah,
Deborah,
anytime they spend in
is there
San
an
Juan.
Is there an opportunity to renegotiate this contract?
Yeah, I guess we could send the thing to the sheriff and ask for renegotiations.
When is this contract bid through?
It's been ongoing for the last 13 years, I think.
Who wrote this contract between us and San Bernardino County? Did you write it?
No, I didn't write it.
Your office didn't write it?
No.
Previous administrations?
Yes.
And how does it get renewed? Is it annual?
Annual.
And
Look into it, bring it back to you at the next meeting if you're interested.
It just gets rolled over according, Eric Gritoff and I did some research about a year ago, and we found a lot of, I would say, anywhere from a whole to deficiency in the contract and the way it's worded and the way it's worked. And we did kind of suggest that at some point it needs to be relooked. We thought it was like on a 4 or 5 year basis, but I guess not. I guess it's this year, like it rolls over. So that's maybe something we should do.
Well, let me ask you, the city administration, do you guys view there as being a need to revisit the contract between San Juan Bautista and the county for law enforcement in this town?
I think there's a need for it, yes, because I think it's the level of coverage and the hours that we're more concerned with.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that the council appoint a subcommittee to a two-person subcommittee to relook at the law enforcement contract with San Diego County.
Okay. I have item 5H is city. No, I'm sorry. That's further down. There's an item on here about appointments to. What's the city council committees? Trish, do you know what? Pardon me.
7D.
7D.
That's planning commission. F is
No.
mayor's council appointments.
7F.
7F.
So let's just take a
7F.
quick look.
7F,
Thank you.
Chris.
7F is the mayor's appointment for subcommittee.
Okay. So I thought
that on this agenda there was a
Yeah, I thought there was
line
too.
item for first level 1 security. Or
It's
whatever.
later on in
What?
it's later on in the
That's
meeting.
7B.
7B. That's where we need to talk about that because it
I-
matches up.
okay.
It matches up.
I
Okay.
don't think so. I think
No.
Dan is right, and I think that do we need to have this as an agenda item, or can we address it now, or do we? I mean, is there any reason we can't form a subcommittee of the?
You can do an
council?
ad hoc subcommittee, but I would recommend that if you were going to speak about it more, that you ask staff to put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
But you can actually appoint a ad hoc committee at this point.
Well, that's certainly my motion. Is this on? That's
Doesn't appear
certainly
to
my
be.
motion, is to appoint an ad hoc committee to talk about the contract between the city of San Juan Bautista and San Benito County for law enforcement. I think we need an ad hoc committee. I think it will dovetail into private security and this other stuff. But based on what I've heard
Separate issue.
tonight, this is a long-standing contract that's been in place through previous administrations. Nobody's taken a look at it. If, according to former council member Lund, if these guys even come here to give us a report on what's happening to our town, they charge us for that, we got to renegotiate this contract. It just screams out that we got to renegotiate this contract. So I'm just looking for a mechanism to take a look at that contract. Let's get it out there. Let's see the contract, Deborah. Right? It's the four corners of the document. Let's see what it calls for, what they get, and what they provide, and what we pay, and make sure it's adequate for our needs. Let's do that.
Okay. So the motion is to form an ad hoc committee to review the contract with the sheriff's department.
Correct.
And report back to the city council.
Absolutely correct.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Okay.
Councilmember Bach.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries.
Yes.
Vice Mayor West.
Yes.
Mayor Martirena.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay.
Thanks,
So we're
Mark.
going to add that to our list of council committees down later on. Is that reasonable? Okay. So,
And then you have to make appointees to that committee.
exactly.
And I would volunteer for that because I know Darren pretty good.
Okay. Ad hoc committee to review.
No, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
You do that under 7F.
Yep.
Charge us when they come, so I
Gentlemen,
have to report.
can we keep on here? So the library report, any questions or comments on the library report? No? Okay. Item 5G, the administrative report.
Again, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I a new meter installation program.
I did not.
About 99% complete.
Somebody here.
And like anything, the first bills went out, there was several errors and oversights, and I think we've managed to address a lot of them, and I think it will clear up as we go through the next billing cycle. Anytime we develop a new billing cycle, there's some oversights and nothing in. Coming to that, I think Matt has prepared a letter that's going to go out to the property owners, and like most billing cycles, are 30-day to 31-day cycle. In this case here, we were reading meters that added sometimes as much as 36 days to 39 days of the total consumption, and so some of the bills were a little bit higher, and it caught the eye of a lot of property owners. So we're working through it. Be patient, and we'll get it resolved. Planning Department, code enforcement, Matt's on board here and is working very diligently to address a lot of the things, and we've got a program going where we've identified a number of code violations, and we're going to launch those after the first of the year pretty aggressively. Matt's also taken a new approach on our digital process of handling building permits and planning. We're investigating to where we can be a little bit more efficient in the issuance of building permit, streamlining the application process, and following through so that work orders and the building permits can be developed down to the Public Works Department, and then they can report back to us when they're complete, and so that we can report again back to the council. So it's a roundabout and more communication process that we're working on. In my department, again, the acquisition of the well site and the pellet plant are the primary things, and those are where most of my efforts have been going, is to negotiate the acquisitions of the well sites and to develop the plans and specifications for the pellet plant so we can go out to bid on these.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from the public? Comments from the public? No? Gentlemen, back at the with the council.
Well,
Jim? What? Jim?
I would like to,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, answer.
It's fine. It's fine. Go ahead.
I'd like to see the pellet plant fast tracked, even before the installation of new wells. I think the public's waited long enough. We're tired of getting our faucets full of calcium and replacing water heaters every 4 years. We just need it. And then we've got other issues. I'll just pass for now.
Okay. Well, John, I'd like to say that that is a major reason why I asked for item 8D to be added, as scheduling a workshop for goal setting, so that we can work with the city staff on prioritizing, where we think the effort needs to be directed, very specifically. So, Tony, anything?
No.
Dan?
Yeah, one thing that I promised the community in kind of monitoring the vibes that are going out there is that this city in January would have a city-sponsored San Juan Bautista Water Forum. And I think we should do that. And at this forum, I would like to hear discussed source, which is well stuff, delivery, which is infrastructure, quality, which is nitrates and what's the quality of this water, hardness, and cost, billing, and that relates to meters and all these other things. I can tell you that this is a hot button issue in the community right now, and I think that we as a city and we as a council, as the electeds of this community, who elected us need to face it head on. And we have to be transparent. And maybe the information that we deliver isn't great information, but we have to be transparent with this city that we serve. So I would propose that we have a meeting like I just described in January.
Would you be open to, again, that item 8D is a goal-setting meeting. That obviously has to be a special meeting in the city council.
Yeah.
What you're describing would be, if we're all going to be there, would be a special meeting in the city council. Could we have those as the 2 agenda items? Would you be comfortable with those as the 2 agenda items, starting with the water forum and then moving into the goal setting for the city in the broader context?
I would, to this extent, Mr. Mayor, that we have the water first, because a lot of folks are going to attend that. I think it's going to be well attended.
Sure.
I absolutely agree that it has to be agendized and noticed to conform with the Brown Act and other statutes. And I think that we should have the noticing pertain to a venue, to someplace like the community center, actually.
Good.
Because I don't think this room will hold the people
Right.
that would like to hear about the status of San Juan water.
Sorry.
Anybody that knows anything about San Juan Bautista knows that water's an issue here.
Right.
And we have to get in front of this, and we have to address it.
So are you comfortable with us?
A dual agenda? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we'll-
As long as the other stuff, the capital improvement stuff that people don't care about, as long as that's at the back,
Good enough.
so that people show up
Yeah.
and they can hear what they came there for,
Okay.
because they're taking times out of their day
Understood.
and their busy schedules. And
I
yeah.
would say that, I'd like to correct you, capital improvements are part of the water source, and they're just as important.
Okay.
Well, no, that's true. That's true. That's true, Mr. City Manager. No, I agree with that. No, obviously capital improvements include water, but as regards the common person on the street, they don't know that.
Right.
All they know about is, they get something on their door that says, "Don't drink the water," or you got to boil it, or, So what is the situation with water in San Juan Bautista? I think if we had a town hall meeting, I think if we all came together and just talked about this stuff,
Good.
I think it would go a long way.
I agree.
With our constituents.
I agree. Okay.
The only thing I can say is the community center is a terrible place to have a meeting.
It is. It is. I agree with you, Tony.
Okay. So
Can you think of a better place? VFW?
VFW is great. I think that would be terrific.
It's only slightly better. The acoustics there are
The
not.
best place is Cataventura, Casa Maria.
Okay.
That's
Well,
what
we'll figure that part out. But anything else on the administrative report?
Thank you.
Yeah, we went to
Mr. West.
a meeting on the fire. We have to realize the fire agreement that we have with the city of Hollister and the county of San Juan Bautista, San Benito County and the city of Hollister is not going to.
Okay, is that related to the staff report, or do you want to?
Well, it'll
cover
be
that
covered in
under
the staff report, so let it go in the staff report then.
I mean, I meant, do you want to cover this as part of your city council committee report?
No, I went to the meeting. That's enough. We'll do the rest of the stuff at that.
At the 8D, the meeting we have separately, or?
No, when
We were invited to a meeting to brainstorm the formation of a joint powers agreement.
Gotcha.
and it's going out 2 ways. One with all 3 players, one with just the city and the county. But it looks like we might have to go and figure out something new.
Okay. For the fire service.
For
here
our
in the
fire
city.
services, yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, anything else on the administrative report? Questions? No? Okay. Closing that. Moving on to the city council committee reports. Tony?
The only thing we did at COG is we're still pursuing a sales tax for street and road repairs. And that's about all that applied to us.
Okay. I did not have any meetings to report on.
Just on the water resource, short meeting, went to that. Then we went on that, met with Roger on the Monterey Bay Community Power. And we're going to be talking about that later. So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments from anyone? No? Yes, okay. Okay, moving right along. Public hearing items. Consider amending Chapter 11-03-010 of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code dealing with zoning district development standards. This would be a first reading.
This was an oversight on my part in terms of the Plan Commission sometimes developed for an R1 a 7, a 6, and a 5,000 square foot lot matrix. And when I was doing the 7,000, I set the side yard setback at originally in 7,000 was 5, and I set it at 6. And inadvertently, not realizing that it created non-conforming use for over 7,000 foot lots that were issued permits and everything, and the new ones now would conform to the 6. So I decided, I says, I'll bring this back, and we'll just change it back to the 5. That's the only change in the matrix there is that I felt that we should go back to what the 7,000 was there, and then it will not create a non-conforming issue for all the existing 7,000 square foot.
So that's the only change to the code is the change from 6 to 5 feet on the side yard setback.
For the R1 7,000.
Right, and that is the only one that was set at 6. Everything else, smaller and larger, was set at 5 feet. Okay.
And the only reason that I'm bringing it to you, normally I bring it to the Planning Commission, but now that we didn't have a forum at the last meeting, everything we wanted to get it in place so that we can start accepting the applications and reviewing some of the stuff that's pertinent to issue the bill.
Okay. Do you have any speaker cards? No. Any questions or comments from the council? Dan, go ahead.
So Roger, all things being said and done, this is a request to change the side yard setback requirement from 6 to 5?
6 to 5.
From 6 to 5?
Yeah.
Okay. It's so ironic. I was on a site inspection today where I asked the city of Hollister what their side yard setback is, and I think it was 5 for the city of Hollister.
And the old one was 5 before I changed it to 6.
But they said something when I talked with the city today, Hollister that is. They said something about what wasn't Hollister? It was Ann Hall at San Benito Engineering. She said if it's 2 or 3 stories, then you have to add a foot for like every story. I don't know if that would come into play with an ordinance like this, but have you considered that?
That's Hollister's, yes, right.
Like, do we need more of a side yard setback if it's a 3-story building? That's my question.
Not unless, the community wanted that and everything, it's not necessary. The 5-yard setback is
5 foot.
to do with the fire rated code. And then anything less than 5 feet, the glazing in any opening has to be fire rated. There are no openings at all. So that's why we set it 5 feet and then it complies with that.
Okay.
And, setting the second floor and gradually offsetting it and stuff like that is strictly an aesthetic thing of what the community wants to do.
So the question before the city council tonight is, do we want to go with 5 foot side yard setbacks instead of 6?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Any questions? I think that this is basically just a cleanup piece. We're not really changing anything meaningful. We're simply cleaning up what amounts to an error in the existing code that we changed earlier this year. Yeah, okay.
Not recognizing that there was a lot of 7,000 in 8 and 10,000
Yeah.
that have 5 foot. And by us adopting the old ordinance, it all goes into non-conforming.
Right.
And if there was some major, the house burned down and the foundation was there, they said, hey, you can't build it, you gotta move it. Oh,
let's do that because I'm 5 feet.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments, council? No?
You need a motion on
I
this?
think we need a motion. Or, well, this is a first reading, so.
Yeah.
Right. But yes. Somebody. What is this? This is item 6A. Pardon me?
That was 6A.
Right. So we need a motion, right? We need action.
You need a motion to read by title only and introduce ordinance number. And Donnie, what do you think?
We don't have an ordinance number at this
We don't
point.
establish it until you adopt it.
So,
Okay. I move that we approve an ordinance, or
introduce.
introduce an ordinance for the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista, amending Chapter 11-03, Article 1, Section 11-03-010, Development Standard Matrix of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code.
I second the motion.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries?
Yes.
Vice Mayor West?
Yes.
Mayor Martirena?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. Moving right along. Action items. The Youth Commission. Consider appointments to the Youth Commission. John, do you want to take this?
Yes, the strategic plan committee recommends the following 4 people: Ashley McLaughlin, Celeste Ely, Karina Alzama, and Destiny Hansen for appointments to the, 1-year appointments to the San Juan Youth Commission.
Can I ask you a question? What is the Youth Commission? What does it do?
Well, the Youth Commission was formed about a year and a half ago, and its job is to have the youth of San Juan express their opinions to the city council. Now and then they make reports, suggestions. They also have gone off on their own and done some of their own things because that's what kids do. They had an environmental impact meeting workshop Saturday in the fall that they put on, and they've had soccer meetings, and then they're getting their act together to make formal recommendations to the city to improve the city for people their age, because we don't know what they want. We're not them.
I think the primary emphasis is to promote the leadership amongst the youth.
Yes, that too. Yeah, but it was also to recommend things that we can do to make their lives a little better. And leadership, yes.
John, can I ask you a question? This inter-district thing, are any of these 4?
I believe one of them is
Yes.
an interdistrict transfer.
Shouldn't we approve that first and then?
Probably right there. No,
actually, no. These
they're
4 were not.
Oh, none of these are?
No.
We have one waiting in the wings,
Oh,
who I have
okay.
not announced yet. Thank you though, Tony.
And that modification and revision will be at your next meeting to modify that so that inter-district students can participate.
Apparently, this is a fact I did not know, that 25% of all Anzar High students are interdistrict transfers from Croondale, Hollister, Gilroy, Watsonville, you name it. So they go there. They like it there. So that's good.
Okay. So
Okay.
do you need a?
Any questions, comments from the public? No? Anything from the council? Questions, comments, staff?
And that would be the answer to 7A, double I, is that at the next meeting, we will be bringing the revised ordinance to you.
Okay, so right now we're considering the appointments of the 4 commissioners mentioned.
Right. And all of them are either San Juan residents or Aromas residents,
Great.
which conforms with the present regulation the way it's set up.
Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I recommend that we, or I would like to make a motion that we recommend or appoint 4 students, Ashley, Celeste, Marina, and Destiny.
Second.
Second. Connie?
Councilmember Watt,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries,
Yeah.
Fun, anytime you can get a kid to
Vice Mayor
volunteer,
West.
take it.
Yes.
Mayor Margarita.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay.
Can I just tag something onto that, John? So, you got this youth commission, and they're supposed to provide guidance to the city in an ill-defined way. I'm not sure what guidance or input they could provide or have provided. Maybe it could be a lot, who knows? But here's what I know those kids could do, a bunch, is help with social media and the website and Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. Like, one of the things, I know I don't have this thing on. But one of the things that you and I won our election on was increasing transparency and increasing communication. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
These kids, this youth commission can help with that immensely by getting the word out for meetings, for like if we have this water forum in January that I really want to have, getting the word out on that. How can we tap into this youthful experience with all their technological ability that I don't have? How can we do that, Connie?
That was actually part of their November agenda, where they were looking into putting together social media policies to help the city, get on social media, get a Facebook page, and then just kind of putting together rules and stuff, looking at other cities
Or-
and seeing what they have.
Well, even our own, the city has a web page. I mean, some of those kids probably know how to update that web page. I don't know how to do that stuff, but some of these kids probably do. So it's a rhetorical question, but query how we can tap into some of these newly elected or appointed children in our community to help us with some of our technological needs. I think it's a resource.
Well, one of the youth advisors is right there, although she's moving on and a new one is moving in. But
Yeah.
Good.
we can certainly get the message to them.
Thank you. Okay. So it sounds like we're going to table 7A II, the amendment to the municipal code dealing with qualification and membership to the youth commission. We're not prepared for that, I gather. So we're going to table that to our next
No,
meeting.
it's not agendized for today, so you wouldn't table it. I think the recommendation was whether
bring it
to
back.
put it on the
Okay.
agenda for the next time.
Okay, yeah. So we want that on the agenda for next month. Okay, any questions about that? Good, okay. Okay, item 7B, accept security contract with Level 1 Security. Now, I thought that this had been delegated to you, Roger,
Yeah.
to
Back
simply...
in August 16th,
Right.
you approved the agreement between Level 1 for private security services, and then we developed a contract, and I apologize for the delay. And we've been working on it off and on. And one of the bigger stumbling block was the insurance. At first, our insurance carrier wanted $5 million coverage, and we felt that was a little bit, quite a bit and everything. Most of our insurance for street events and other activities was $1 million. So we met with Parsecs and we got it down to $2 million. And so then the contractor, Level 1, got their insurance agent to interface with Parsecs and everything, and then they got all the insurances squared away for the thing. One of the things, and that was on the last page of your contract, is we eliminated 8 items that they were going to complete. And the insurance guy was a little bit queasy about item number 8, so we deleted that from the contract. And that was where they were going to interface with the sheriff department for incident development and arrest procedures. And the insurance company didn't want them to take the liability
Right.
of detaining somebody and arresting them. Right. So it worked out good, and they're going to coordinate with the sheriff department, but they're not going to participate in citizens arrest or
Right.
any type of arrest incident.
So, no, pardon me. So, are we, why does this need to be on our agenda? I thought that we had directed staff to sign the contract.
Yeah, right, yeah, and I just wanted to bring it back to you to let you know the activities we did.
Okay.
And now the contract, I want to be specifically, because we had budgeted the necessary for a full year, is that it's for 192 days to complete through June the 30th.
Which would be our fiscal calendar.
Fiscal year, right. And
Okay.
everything. And then there's provisions in there where then you can renew it based on your approved budget. And
Okay.
then, so, and I just wanted to make sure that you understood where
Okay.
we were coming from and the insurance.
Okay, so you're prepared, pardon, one moment. You're prepared to sign it at this point?
Yes.
Deborah, you had something?
I do. I would just like to add one thing, because I've just seen this, for the first time I have been presented with this new Exhibit A. I had one initially that didn't have the fiscal impact
Yes.
paragraph on it, and I'm not comfortable with the language on that, just so the council knows. It says the contract for 192 days of security services will cost $43,408, and it should be, the language should read instead, will be in an amount not to exceed $43,408, because, of course, you don't want to enter in a contract that says you're going to pay $43,000, especially if they don't do all the services during the year.
Right. Okay. So we're prepared.
And I just wanted to make sure that because of the delay, we had set aside, I think, $81,000.
Right.
Because we got through this there, it was going to be a shorter time frame of about half of that amount.
Right. Okay. Pardon me?
I had a
John?
question.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the first page, terms and condition number 3, schedule, and just as I knew you talked about it, from 10 p.m. at night to 7 in the morning, and I think that's fine, but I also worry about, we're always kind of fighting the last war, and there's always going to be a different war with a different plan of attack. And so when things are tightly scheduled or highly scheduled, or they become known, we're announcing it to the world right now. And so the person will rob us at 8:30 in the morning or at 9 p.m. and before you guys get here. I'm going to remind the city council and the general public that I believe it was 4 or 5 years ago, the bank down here at the corner was robbed, and they knew the schedule of the sheriff, and they actually literally sat there and hoed weeds and acted like a landscaping contractor for a half hour before they went in and got the money. So when you know schedules, the thieves can learn a schedule too and work around it. So we need to be a little flexible is what I'm trying to say.
But there's a little way around that, though.
Yeah.
Because how can you award a contract based on money for schedule without letting bad guys know what the schedule is?
So I think I talked.
So there's a rub there.
Yeah, I talked to JT about that, where I says, could we sometimes alter that to where we start at 9 to 6? I don't worry too much about from 6 o'clock on, because
We're all up.
Joe is on and comes in every morning, and I come every morning at 6 o'clock, and we take and run around the town and make sure that there's no conditions on our streets and everything, and water and stuff like that. So we're around there, and now with their schedule to 7 o'clock, we can kind of touch base with them, and they can kind of give us an idea of any activity that night. And I like that 10 to 7 schedule, but it's flexible enough, and I know I've talked to JT and Senator about that. Yeah.
So, John, well, this has been obviously discussed quite extensively, and it was this whole issue came up in response to nighttime break-ins. Right. So that's really the genesis of that. We've discussed. I would say we've discussed it at length with the business community in town. The council has discussed it extensively, and I think that at this point, it is, I know that they are basically billing us on an hourly basis. So we absolutely have the ability to make changes to the timing of the contract. Would you agree, JT?
I agree.
With appropriate notices and so forth, allowing you to make the schedule with your staff. But you know,
I
so
understand, but I just want to remind people that the Union Bank was robbed in broad daylight. It was around 11 a.m., you know.
Yeah, understood. And I mean, I don't think any of us.
Wouldn't have made any difference if we had a police department.
And Tony, honestly, that's where we'd like to get to, is the point where we're able to provide 24/7. This is what we can afford today, or this is what we believe we could afford today, and so this was what we deemed appropriate. So, any other questions or comments from the council?
I got a couple corrections.
Okay.
On item 13 of the agreement, I think it's just a misspelling or something. Without cause at any time by given, you're going to give. Giving, right? ING.
There are a number of typos.
And then I got a couple more on
number of typos.
On Exhibit A, line 4, in the city of Field. Supervisor, I didn't know what that meant. Prepare daily activity report every day and turn them into the city of Field.
Maybe it should be or.
Yeah.
Or Fields. Okay, now it makes sense. And on line 6, I never saw that word before, and I do a lot of crossword puzzles. Citrus. Situates.
Situations.
I think it's supposed to be
situations.
situations.
Supposed to be, sure.
I thought maybe I'd do something for my crossword puzzle. I don't know. And in 8, second line, incident report. If an incident should be needs.
8 is stricken out.
That line has been stricken from the
8
contract.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. John, was that it for you, or you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to remind you.
Sure. Okay. And Tony's good.
Crime can happen.
Now you told all the crooks what they're going to do.
Dan?
Yeah. My turn?
Yeah, absolutely.
Deborah, did you read this, and what did you think of this contract?
I drafted the contract.
You prepared this contract?
I didn't prepare the scope of work. That was part of the negotiation that the city manager did with the security service provider, but I did draft the contract.
So why is the city not an additional insured on their policy, on that CGL policy that you have in paragraph E? Shouldn't the city be named as an additional insured?
This language we actually got from Parsac. So they're the ones that required this language, and I uploaded the language that we got from our insurance company.
Okay, so it doesn't matter to me right now a whole lot where the language came from, but shouldn't the city be an additional insured on their CGL policy?
They are.
No, they're not. Not per this contract, they're not. I mean, as far as I read.
No, you're right. I'm not.
We get a certificate of insurance from you saying that you got CGL, comp, workers, or auto. You got all that stuff. That's great. You got the coverages. But the city should be named as an additional insured on your policy. That requires an endorsement to the policy. So that's something you'd have to get from your broker.
And you have that?
I do.
Yes. He's differentiating what he has provided as to what the contract, that the contract does not reflect what he is actually providing.
You've already gotten that additional insured endorsement for the city, in behalf of the city?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean for the confusion.
Yeah. No, totally, I get it.
And Dan, I'm JT with Level 1 Private Security, and John, how are you guys, gentlemen?
We're super good.
Before we go any further?
Super good.
How you doing? I'm sorry, I haven't got to meet you guys yet.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man. No, and I believe me, I get into these kind of discussions a lot with contractors.
No problem. I don't want you to think that would be defined. We did-
But realize this though, like putting that on a certificate is not the same thing as an actual ISO 2010 endorsement that says that the city of San Juan Bautista is an additional insured. And that's important because what that means is that if something bad happens to the city because of something that one of you guys did,
You will not be liable.
well, we may be liable, but your insurance company is going to start defending from minute one. That's a
So,
certificate.
as-
That's an accord certificate.
As
Is that what
G
you're talking
here,
about or not?
No, this is
As-
what I
as-
just said.
Okay.
as G, the contractor agrees to deposit with the city certificates of insurance necessary to satisfy the city that the insurance provisions of this agreement have been complied with. So that would be the certificates of additional insured there. We can further specify, including with this, deposit with the city's certificates of insurance, including the language that you add there, but that is
Yeah.
what my understanding is, that Parsec put that in there so they can get their additional insured.
Correct. We want their carrier, which is, one second.
Right, I'm familiar with it. I think that was just pro forma as part of this G that it was going to be provided,
yeah,
but
no.
we can put the language specifically in there that,
Totally agree.
And we have no opposition, JT, to add that into G as additional insured.
Absolutely not. I mean, can I approach you guys?
Yeah.
So this is what I printed out from my insurance company.
So we want to be insured by Covington for anything that.
Sure.
so.
So this is not adequate?
He has
in your
it.
mind?
No, that's just.
He has it right here, the certificate of additional insured, so we can
That's
just
what
add
we're
it to the
looking at.
contract.
But that's not an additional insured
Okay.
endorsement. That's a certificate.
This is it right here.
The endorsement is what amends the policy.
This endorsement modifies, is that what you're?
This endorsement changes the policy. Yeah, see, that's what I just said. An endorsement changes the policy. There it says it right there.
Name of person or organization?
Perfect.
Okay.
Business, garage, motor, truckers. Wait, we want GL. We want general liability.
There's more pages there, so maybe.
You guys can have those, man.
Commercial general liability, here it is.
From Covington.
To be honest with you, I'm no lawyer in insurance, so I defer it to Parsec and Ken Hodge.
Well, and
He's our expert.
that's just the case, and on December 9th, he rejected what they submitted and had them actually get the certificate of insured, naming the city as an additional, he had them get the correct information. So
Yeah,
this was all set out with
I can
Parsec.
say that, Deb, in my experience, which dealing with product liability, these, a retailer won't accept this because the insurance agent writes these and it has no, it doesn't, it has no force on the policy. If the policy has the exclusion, it doesn't do you any good. So this is what you want. Is this adequate?
This is right. This is
Okay.
adequate. This is from Covington, which is the GL carrier. Can I see that, sir?
Yeah, okay.
So here's the cert. So the cert says that your GL policy, which has 1 million each occurrence, so it's a 1 million, 2 million policy. That's a little bit light, but 1 million, 2 million. Do you have excess? Umbrella. Oh, you got $1 million excess. We're just concerned if you guys do something super wrong, and is the city going to be liable in some way? That's the only thing I'm thinking about. Not that you're going to do anything wrong. So forgive me, but you know what I mean. You got to always, hope for the best, plan for the worst, right?
Run over a chicken or two.
Yeah.
We're on television, I don't know how much more.
So you have 1 million, 2 million with a $1 million umbrella, and then the Covington GL carrier has named San Juan Bautista as an additional insured on that GL policy per this endorsement. So that is, even though the contract did not say that, you did it. So
Okay.
I'm good.
Perfect. Dan's happy, I'm happy.
So am I. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Don't do anything bad. Let's not have this conversation come up again.
Yeah, we don't want to talk insurance anymore.
All right.
I guess
Okay.
the only thing is, oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Jim, did you have any questions, comments?
No, I had the same legal concerns that Dan did. and
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan cleared it up, so I feel quite comfortable about the whole
He
thing.
called me at midnight last night. He was so
Yeah.
torn up about this. And I said, Jim, we'll work it out at the
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay, sounds like we've got it. We have some typos basically in the contract that we received, but that's just cleaning up some
Is that
language.
mine?
Pardon me?
No.
No, I think it's the
Because I
agreement
didn't, I'm
that they
sorry,
typed
Tony,
up.
I didn't know what you were talking about there for a minute.
It's Exhibit A.
Not to,
It's
not
our-
to worry.
We'll correct the contract and I'll have it signed with Tricia and I. You can stop by tomorrow and initial it and what do you think?
It's Christmas. I'm gonna be busy there.
When you going to work?
Tomorrow? Come on, we need you to start tomorrow.
No, don't tell the crooks that.
So I guess that would be the question, I guess we'll do that then tomorrow. is
Yeah,
what's the start
that's,
date?
we'll defer to Roger, but it sounds like we've worked
So
through
we're
it.
all good.
It sounds like.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Can I ask a new guy question?
Yeah, of
Have
course.
you guys already talked about this? I'm sure you have a bunch, and that's why I don't want to bring it up
No, go
now.
ahead.
If someone can kind of fill me in on the scope of their work,
Sure.
like detentions, I know are a big
So,
deal.
so
And
let's, I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to make this quick, and Dan, please bear with me. So when we first started out, there was a bidding process. We put in the bid. Obviously, we got accepted. We went through the whole thing. And one of the things was the scope of services was there was a lot of council member, to us about what we're supposed to do, what we should do, what we do. So what I did is I went down to the sheriff's department. Me and this is Tyler, and Tyler's my right-hand man of the company. And we went down to the sheriff's department, we talked to Captain Taylor, and we went through that. What can we do? What can we do? We know what our job is, what can we do? There's a lot of loopholes in there that we're not gonna even touch base on. We're gonna
there's
do
a bunch of loopholes in
Yeah.
there.
So what our job is gonna be to doing, which was the original thing we talked about, the
Are you
original.
going to detain?
No, absolutely not.
No handcuffs.
No. We will not be handcuffing people.
So
Or
you're
maybe
observing
chicken,
and
but-
reporting.
Yeah, observing and reporting. We will have body cams on our officers and and then inside the vehicles, there will be dash cams.
But no detentions.
No. Unless a crime has been, it has to, if a felony and stuff, which is in our rule book, then we can. If it's on scene, if something happens, we're gonna give first aid and stuff like that, but I don't see any of us arresting anybody or detaining.
Okay. Or
Actually,
detaining.
detentions is not what we use. We have to make an arrest.
Right.
Okay. Can I-
And Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
I would submit to you and the council, that's where liability comes in. With
Of course.
The private firm is in the area of detentions.
Right.
It's
You're
a really
absolutely right.
sketchy area.
Yeah.
And that was why our insurance company was adamant that we deleted aid and made sure that it was specific, eyes
Right.
and ears, is what we've always said.
Yeah,
Eyes and ears, that's
yeah,
right.
the difference between us and the sheriff's department, of course, is a great difference. All of you guys know that, but what me and Roger discussed, and even through his insurance guy, is that they were under the impression we were going to make arrests and throw them in the back of our cars, excuse the language, and take them to the jail and do stuff. We're not doing that.
Okay.
So.
Just observe and report.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome.
Good.
So,
Best of luck to you guys.
thank you very
Keep
much.
us safe.
All right.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay. Roger, do you need anything else from us?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. So we're going to move on to item 7C, adopt a resolution changing signature responsibilities on the city bank accounts. Oh, fun. Which one of the two of you would like to have any reservations, or are you saying no, you don't want to do it? John, we'd like to I think
Pretty
we're going to
thrilling.
appoint John to be a signatory on the city's account.
What about you?
I am on it already.
Jim and Tony are already on the
What
list.
about you?
I am not going to do it. I will not. I'm with Dan. Dan and I are too worried about liability in this case.
Yeah. That's because you guys have
Your
things.
Christmas
It's not
check is
something
not
I
coming
need
then.
right now.
Yeah.
John, you're perfect, John.
I'm
Come on.
uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable doing it, frankly. So,
I thought it was an honor, but now I found out now it's a
I
liability.
take his acquiescence as a yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, the only disadvantage
I think
is
it's-
sometimes we have a hard time getting that second signature, Jim's gone or Tony's down in Southern California. So we asked that third member so that we can call you and say, hey, can you come down and sign a check? It's very rare, but it.
Are you in
it
town
happens.
every day?
Most days, yeah.
You're in town most days?
Yeah.
So there you go.
okay. So, John Freeman. We need any comments or questions? Anything else
Do
from
we need a
anyone?
motion for that?
We definitely need a motion. It is a resolution.
I move that Councilmember Freeman be appointed to the signature duties of the.
You got to read that.
I think I almost had it. I make a motion that Mr. Freeman, Councilmember Freeman, be appointed to the signature duties of the San Juan Bautista checking account, authorizing changes to the designated signatures on the city's accounts at Union Bank.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bott.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
No.
Yes.
Vice Mayor West.
Yes.
Mayor Margarita.
Aye.
Members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor that passes
Oh,
unanimously.
man.
What's the number on that, John?
That is 60,
60?
2016.
Okay. So, right. Letter D, Planning Commission appointments. Ooh, exciting. Should we start with appointment by Council Member Freeman? Or do we want to handle these all at one time? Anybody object to doing these at one
I've got
time?
no problem with that.
Okay. Tony?
Whatever's fastest.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Okay. Okay, we're in accord.
Um,
So, Planning
is that
Commission.
your wife?
We have
I
the
know, but
appointment by
it's,
Councilmember Freeman is,
Mr. John Hopper.
and the appointment by Councilmember DeVries.
Scott
Excuse me,
Friels.
DeVries.
Scott
Scott
Friels.
Friels, thank you. And my appointment is Darlene Boyd. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Good luck.
Darlene Boyd is John's wife.
That is correct.
I don't know if that creates a conflict of interest, but presuming that the planning commission voted on something, it got appealed to the city council, would there be a conflict of interest?
Deborah?
So it's not a conflict of interest. There's actually a court case on it that it went up to the Court of Appeals in this district, and they said that a planning commissioner could be related by marriage to a city council member. And what suggested that the city attorney give an advisement to the city council member that if an action were to come up that was an appeal from the planning commission, that that council member remain unbiased and make sure that all the information that was in front of the planning commission that he or she knows about is also available to the council so that everyone has the same information when they make their decision. It actually is just an issue that due process is followed and that the city council member is unbiased. The reason being that the planning commission appeals are de novo to the city council. So it's a whole new game there. It's not something that's hedged on the planning commission decision. So you're not supervising the planning commission. You are actually hearing their decisions on appeal de novo.
I just didn't want to see John have to go to divorce court.
It may be a conflict of interest, but domestic tranquility, not so much.
Okay. No, I have no problem with that. The question came up.
You're married to Darlene Boyd? Darlene, how did I not know that? Over how many years you married to? I didn't even know that. Oh my goodness.
Okay. So, any questions, comments from the public? No. Anything from, any discussion from the council? Questions,
Nope.
concerns?
Well,
Yes, sir.
go ahead, Tony.
Tony?
Do you need a motion of approval?
I
I don't remember that.
Well,
I don't see how you do it.
well, I think Dan
You
had
guys
a
can't
question
vote.
or comment first before we get to the voting.
Yeah, it sounds like Councilmember Bach is ready to make a motion, and I hate to delay him in that, but I do want to kind of second his eyebrow raising here a little bit with regard to a sitting city council member having a wife that's on the planning commission. And I love both of you dearly. You know that. So it's not that. But I'm just wondering, like, is that going to be okay? Yeah, city council says it's going to be okay.
Well,
I had to leave the county because I couldn't be on the county and the city at the same time, although I wanted to be. So January is my last meeting with the county after 12 years, just because of the perceived conflict. But I guess all we can really do is look to city council, and if you, Deborah, feel that it's all on the up and up, and you do,
Yes.
then I got no problem with it, I guess.
Thank you.
It's going to be interesting, though. I think it's unprecedented in San Juan Bautista.
Well, it's
A
good that you
husband,
don't
a
have to lobby
husband
one
council member
household.
with a wife planning commissioner. Wow. Could be interesting conversations around your table, I think. All right. That's all I wanted to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the stated nominees.
Second.
for the
Three
commission.
Second.
All three of them?
Councilmember Bach,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries,
Yes.
Vice Mayor West,
Yes.
Mayor Margarina.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the mayor passes unanimously.
Okay, letter E, consider appointment of Matt Orbach to the Strategic Plan Committee. John, would you like to take that one as well?
We also have 3 other members to appoint also. I don't know if it just got left off, but they were emailed at the same time. And those members are, let me get out the right piece of paper. Maria Elena Magical, Kathy Schipper, and Robert Eliason, and also Matt Orbach as city representative. And the Strategic Planning Committee has recommended that we approve all 4 of those people.
Correct. Okay. Any questions, comments from the public? Back to the council. Any questions?
No.
Comments? I'm resigning my spot on the Strategic Plan Committee. We had, I think, previously discussed and decided that we would have a single council member on. So John is going to remain as the council member of the Strategic Planning Committee, and Van de Guibert has taken over his role as the chair of that body. John?
Well, I move that we accept the recommendations of the Strategic Planning Committee to appoint Maria Elena Magical, Kathy Schipper, Robert Eliason, and Matt Orbach to the Strategic Planning Committee.
Second.
Councilmember Bach,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries,
Yes.
Vice Mayor West,
Yes.
Mayor Margarina.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the mayor passes unanimously.
Okay. Mayor's council appointments for representative to boards and committees. Oh, fun. Does everybody have that?
I want LAFCO.
You want LAFCO?
I do.
Let's see.
The mayor of Hollister just called me just now and asked me.
Why don't we?
Yeah, I'd argue with you, Dan. I'd like to do that too.
You would?
Go- Yeah.
So me and him are in contention for LAFCO.
Okay.
That's
What are you talking about now? LAFCO?
LAFCO.
Okay. So we have
Because I can't get Tony off.
clearly open as LAFCO. West Nile virus, I don't think we're going to worry about that one. Fire protection, intergovernmental.
Yeah, I'd like the intergovernmental too, because it's
Let's
right
see.
after fire thing, and
Thank you.
Ad hoc committee for outside services, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
That was.
And the investment advisory, and then our additional ad hoc committee to review the sheriff's contract. Dan, I assume you want
Yeah.
to do that.
You should take that one off
Could
of
you,
there because.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
could you go down, because we have to document this for the clerk and.
I understand.
Yeah, right.
I'm-
So-
Yeah, no, I think he's freelancing right now.
I am freelancing right now.
Yeah.
So our ad hoc committee to review the sheriff's contract, I think, Dan, obviously, you,
Yeah, I'll do that.
Dan.
Just because I know Darren, I think that we
Good.
can have a good conversation about that.
Okay, anyone else interested in that in particular? No.
One-person committee. Okay.
John, you were, in terms, I wonder if you don't, because you've sort of taken over the neighborhood watch, or would you rather not? It's fine, I don't feel strongly about it.
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Most of the research was done by Eric, and I just
Okay,
kind of.
no, that's fine.
tag along.
So I'll do that with you.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be a nice conversation.
No, I think it's a,
Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll
He-
get it worked out.
okay, so we have COG, AMBAG. I'm going to leave AMBAG. What about, Dan, what about AMBAG versus LAFCO?
I think Jim really wants the handbag, and I would gladly.
I thought I wanted him.
John wants the handbag? Yeah, John.
I wanted LAFCO's.
I think we'll put John.
Yeah, because
Okay.
AMVAG gives you $50 a month.
So
you know.
John, you're going to do AMBAG, okay. John,
Put John on the handbag.
and the secondary, I'll remain as the secondary, how's that?
On which one?
On AMBAG.
You already put me a second.
You were
too, if
first,
you
you were
want.
primary. Oh, you're in the,
I've already been on handbag.
Have you?
I was on handbag for 8 years.
WRA, that's Jim.
Yeah.
That's the water resources.
Yeah, I don't,
John, are you interested? Or Dan, are you interested in water resources?
I'll do that. For the second one, yeah. We have to-
John's the water guy.
Okay.
yeah, you'd be good on that.
Okay, Jim, I'm going to call you secondary,
Yeah, I can do that.
and John will take over on that.
Yeah, John's totally the water guy.
Yeah.
West Nile. We're going to leave Tony on the West Nile and have
I
no
don't-
secondary.
do they notify you when they have a meeting?
I have no idea, but we're going to
No, they
have to
don't.
look at that. Tony's on that one.
Mosquitoes
Ocean
as
Bay, that's not us right now.
We just put the fish in the pond.
And Connie, for your purposes, once the mayor gets done going through all this, he'll read it out perfectly clearly, so you don't have to try to keep up with this little gibberish right now.
Yeah.
For this
Gibberish?
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
Gibberish.
Like, yeah. She's probably like, what? Who's what? Right?
Yeah, yeah. Intergovernmental.
He's just making chicken scratches.
I'd like to be on
he'll
that
tell
one.
you.
Okay.
Because that makes it, I mean, it's in the same room
Yeah,
right after.
The fire protection and the intergovernmental, unless
Yeah.
anyone has objects, Jim and I will do those two because they happen the same. They're both on Thursday morning.
For which one?
Thursday. The fire protection and
And the intergovernmental.
intergovernmental committee.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in the city hall, one right after the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're on a,
For 2 years, we just
Unless-
waved at each other as we went by.
yeah.
Can you get someone in the canyon to be a part of your group there? The canyon's got.
They're not in the city.
I know they're not a city, but the canyon has huge fire protection concerns. Huge.
They're welcome to come to the meeting.
The county has two representatives
Yeah.
to it, and they would need to go through
Yeah.
the county representatives
Yeah,
for that.
but it's
I mean,
all,
we'd
they're
be
open
happy to talk
meetings.
to 'em.
And people, like these, we ask for input, so
Yeah.
it'd
Okay,
be good to
awesome.
have
And
someone
if
from
you-
the county.
Dan, if you know somebody that's got concerns, by all means, send them to,
Okay.
I'd be happy to talk to them.
Fantastic. That's
Raised
perfect.
there,
Yeah,
and who lives
That's
in the
perfect.
canyon.
Just so they know they're welcome and they
Yeah.
have a voice.
Sure.
That's wonderful.
I'm not going to worry about that. Investment advisory, okay, that's done. So we're down to arm wrestling over LAFCO.
I say flip a coin.
I think.
Pardon?
You want to flip a coin on
No.
left?
I think I'm going to.
I'd like to do that, but,
So would I.
yeah, well, I really want to do COG. Get Tony to go drop COG.
I'm going to appoint Jim West
Let's
to
split the money,
to LAFCO.
What?
And I'll
Let's
place
split
you
the
as
money.
secondary for LAFCO.
They gave me a check for that one meeting I made up for you, and I didn't know what to do with it. Then he had sent me all the paperwork for it.
Okay. Oh, gosh. Do you want to remain with COG, Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're, okay. You not feeling like you want to,
Not with his cold, dead
Okay.
hand.
Dan, is there anything else
It's the only
you'd
one
be
that pays.
interested in?
No, screw you, I'm not talking to you right now.
Okay.
You're dead to me.
So, Connie, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. LAFCO. The primary will be Jim West, secondary Dan DeVries.
Get that secondary.
Ambag,
I like it when you're secondary.
Just
John
be careful
Freeman,
when you go to the car.
and I will be the secondary. COG remains unchanged. The Water Resources Association, WRA, John Freeman is the primary. Jim West is the secondary. West Nile Virus, primary is Tony Bach, and no secondary. Integrated Waste Management Local Task Force is also Tony Bach, with no secondary. Fire Protection will be Jim West and myself. I'll remain as the Neighborhood Watch, John, unless you want to formally take that. I think unfortunately, I think that's, the organization's all but dead. CMAP remains Art Tostani. Intergovernmental Committee will be myself and Jim West. Ad hoc Committee for Infrastructure Project Funding remains unchanged, as is the parking. Ad hoc Committee for Outside Services will be Tony Bach and myself. The Investment Advisory Committee will be Dan, since he's not here to object.
Yeah.
That's what you get for leaving the room, Dan.
I'll do that.
Too late. And the Ad hoc Committee for, to review the sheriff's contract will be Dan and myself. Yes, Dan and myself. Okay. Does that take care of that?
Yes.
Okay, we're all set on committee membership, and I think we should take a 5-minute recess.
Yes. Over 50 break.
And we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we are back in session. And on to item 7G, consider resolution accepting the fiscal year 2016 audit. Obviously, no public comment.
And the number would be 61.
Number would be 61. Any questions or comments from the council regarding the audit?
All right, I'll make a resolution number 2016-61. A resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista accepting the San Juan Bautista municipal audit for the fiscal year 2015-2016.
Second.
Councilmember Bott.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries.
Yes. Yes.
Vice Mayor West.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by legal passes unanimously.
Okay, and 7H, accept bid for Abbey Park covered bus stop project and award to Del Curto Brothers Construction Company in the amount of $42,750. Roger?
Yeah, we had prepared this about a year and a half ago and tried to solicit bids, and most contractors are busy and we couldn't get anybody. And finally, I was at a Christmas party and I told the Del Curtos, I said, you got to get over here and help us out. So he prepared a bid, got all the subcontractors submitted, and the bid came in at 42.7. The budget was established at about 46, and that's our grant amount. And so it was under the bid, and so it even gives us a little bit of leeway to buy after on the wall next to the fence where we had glass partition and on the west end. And so with the under budget and everything, I have enough money, and I talked to about is to buy a couple benches.
Good.
And we can put it in there and then anchor it down so the kids
Good.
can sit in there. The whole theory behind it is to get the wind from knocking through there during the winter months and then even during the spring. The kids are waiting for the bus early in the morning.
And so this is going to replace the cover that's there today?
No.
This is in a...
Everything is going to remain the same. What we're doing is just on two walls, we're putting some mullions and putting the tempered safety glass in it to stop the wind. And then with this, we added curb and gutter complete all the way down, and then redo the pavement where the bus will start. It's going to go with a thicker structural section where the bus can park there, and then we'll have a handicap ramp because a couple of the students are on wheelchairs. Sure.
Okay.
So it's the same bus shelter that exists now
on
Polk and Fourth.
On Polk and Fourth, yeah.
But you're just enclosing two sides of it.
Two sides of it with glass
facing the west.
Yeah.
And how many bids did you get on that?
Just one. I could not get.
Don't we have a responsibility as a city to get more than one? With the public works project?
We have a responsibility to put out for bids.
It went out to bid, and we advertised it, and no one stepped forward. I called 3 or 4 contractors, and they says, no, I don't have time for a little project like that.
Well, and this is being paid for by a grant from COG, correct? We're not spending our dollars for this. They're comfortable with the process. That this isn't going to violate the grant process in any way. I mean, the fact that there's only one contractor.
And we touched base with Mary.
So she's comfortable with this.
She's comfortable with it, but she's been really pushing us because if we did not get a bid within the next couple of months, they were going to pull the grant.
Okay.
It expires.
So
that's why I've been pushing to get somebody to do it.
The drawings I'm looking at show a new roof with the asphalt shingles, so it's really going to be rebuilt, or are they
just? No, it does not show a new roof.
Okay, so
it's all existing.
Yeah.
So we're just paying $42,000 for 3 big sheets of tempered glass?
No, it's...
And that's only a small part of it, everything. It's the curb, gutter, and the pavement is the biggest
Going into the glass business, if that's the case.
Or going to concrete business.
But you're already in that.
And you can see in the ladder, down in the right-hand corner of the thing there, where we're extending the curb and gutter all the way to 4th Street. We're putting a sidewalk, and then we're putting a asphalt 4-on section, 3.5 AC on, and 8 inches of aggregate base.
Well,
Yeah, I'd like to get 3 bids too, but you're not going to get a contractor today to swing his cannon for $42,000. It's just not going to happen.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you. I think there's lots of guys. I'd like to get 3 bids. But you know what? If it's a cog thing, so this money's not coming out of San Juan Bautista's pockets. Like that's kind of your point. Like it's a cog thing, so-
And it's under budget, and we'll lose if we don't do it.
Fine. But I gotta tell you, I just want to go on record right now. If it's a City of San Juan Bautista job, 3 bids. And none of this. I sent it out and blah blah blah. I want to know when it was sent.
Sure.
Who it was sent to. It's like bid package. That's what I do for a living. I do construction projects. So I want to know when the bid packages went out, who responded, who didn't respond, all of that
You
stuff.
can help us with that. No, I don't mean to make light of
But
your comment.
if this is a cog thing and it's under budget, then
Okay.
fine, whatever. But we should have gotten 3 bids.
I call it an RFP, request for.
I do want to read, there was a public comment emailed in.
From Cara?
Yes, from Caravonk. It says, Dear City Council members, I cannot attend the December 20 meeting. My mother is undergoing surgery. I've not had a chance to review the design of the bus stop. I do not believe that the Abbey Park covered bus stop has gone to Planning Commission design review and request that it be referred. McCollum Street is one of the city's gateway streets, and a bus stop will be a prominent new architectural feature adjacent to Abbey Park. Note the prominent restrooms that lack any architectural merit. The bus stop was briefly mentioned at a Planning Commission meeting a long time ago, and there was discussion about the visually impaired sidewalk tiles and disabled ramp access. There has been consensus on the Planning Commission that the yellow plastic material is inappropriate anywhere within the city. Much nicer materials exist and have been successfully used in other cities and state parks. These are buff-colored concrete tiles with dots. Other natural colors are also available. Please, even if the bus stop is a simple design, let's make it beautiful and have it enhance our city of history. Design review should be involved. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Caravonk. Okay.
We have duly noted a number of times with the Planning Commission where the textiles are now purchased in a gray.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree with Kara's email.
Well, she didn't realize that, we're not changing the bus stop.
And it's
Yeah.
not on
It's there.
McCollum,
Yeah,
it's on-
you're right.
It's on Polk anyway.
I think she was in the impression we were going to build.
She thought it was across from your office.
Yeah, I think she thought it was on the other side of Abbey
She's talking
Park.
about the restroom, which is over near your office.
And she refers to McCollum Street.
Yeah. The structure's already built. It's not going to be, sheets of glass aren't going to change the design. They're just going to be sheets of glass. So I don't see a reason to put it off.
Well, do you think the design could be improved, though? Do you think it could be a prettier little bus stop?
Well,
As long as we're
that would
spending-
up that price, if you're going to go to tearing stuff down and adding new roofs and new boards and stuff, you're
Okay,
going to.
what do they call that,
I
a
think
cupola?
you'll find,
With the weather vane?
you'll
Right.
find that the design is it's going to have redwood mullions, cross mullions, because I didn't want a full pane of safety glass where the kids could break it or do anything, and so I cut the mullions in half so that I'm going to have separate pieces top and bottom. There's going to be an 8-inch airspace underneath so the wind can blow the leaves out, and it's not going to be there. And then the existing 6 posts are pressure treated. Douglas fir, which is obtuse to me because they're ugly looking, but I'm going to clad them in redwood so that it looks all nice.
Okay.
Sounds like Williamsburg, Virginia.
Tony, any comments, any questions?
No, let's go with it.
Okay, John, you're comfortable?
Since we're just adding glass and concrete work, the design to me is not changing.
Okay, Dan?
Same as John.
I got no
Okay,
problem.
I'm very comfortable with it as well, so do we need a motion? Are you looking for any direction from the council?
I need a motion to accept the bid from Del Cordo there and award it in the amount of $42,750.
Okay,
Okay, I move that we accept the bid from Del Carrillo Brothers Construction in the amount of $42,750 and continue with the project.
Second.
okay.
Councilmember Block?
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries?
Yes.
Vice Mayor West?
Yes.
Mayor Margarita?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is carried by the maker passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay. Next item, staff request the city council declare the old military portable generator as surplus.
So declared. I make a motion that we declare that. Like, seriously? I know, Jim, Councilmember West made that motion.
No, I didn't make that. I don't declare anything surplus anymore.
Oh, really? Because you don't want to be declared
Yeah.
surplus yourself.
Do we,
Just to give you the history behind it, I went up in 1984 to purchase this at the surplus, and it's another military one. It came out of the Korean War.
so this thing is your fault,
We-
is
we-
what
yeah,
you're
we
telling
got it
us.
for $25. It was a big deal, but it was a mind boggler to get it to run because it's got a diesel engine and to get it to, in the old military they had high voltage, and so we had to change some stuff in it.
24 volts.
Yeah. And we got it running, and it served down at the sewer treatment plant for a number of years, and then we replaced it, and then they brought it up, and then they put it behind the firehouse.
Okay.
I think it ran a couple times, but it just sat there, and so when we remodeled the firehouse and we put that bedrooms in there, we took it down to the yard, it's been sitting there since.
What's it worth today?
I would say
$25.
probably more than
Scrap.
a couple $100.
Okay.
I would say put it on Craigslist and see what.
So I think what we're looking for
Hundreds of
is
people coming kicking your tires. Don't put anything on Craigslist. You know?
so we're looking for a motion to surplus the unit and authorize the staff to advertise for bids.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Block?
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember DeVries?
Yes.
Vice Mayor West?
Yes.
Mayor Margarita?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. Discussion items. Senior Council on Aging representative. I don't think we know any more about this than we did last month.
It's going to be tough to recruit somebody to get it. The meetings are over in Santa Cruz, and Trish and I and Matt talked about it, where maybe we could entice to give maybe a stipend to a representative to cover their gas to go over there, a representative. And the issue here is that they do give out grants and availability for different types of senior food programs and stuff like that. And if we're not attending it, we're not going to get any grants. And sometimes they will hand out grants just because nobody's up there to show up to ask for it. You know? So it's something that. would
And the
be nice.
meetings are in Watsonville?
Yeah.
Santa Cruz.
Where?
This one was watching something.
Okay.
Normally in Santa Cruz. Do you know when the meetings are?
Do you know how often they are?
Mickey Luna came in
Okay.
and talked to me about it, and
I-
I don't know exactly where the meetings are.
Okay. So it sounds like we don't really have anything to discuss
Yeah.
at this
No.
point. Should
No,
we,
and
Continue.
nobody stepped forward and
Let's-
everything, we put it in the paper
I'll talk to you about it. I work in Watsonville. It's not that far. I don't know anything about it. Maybe we can do a little information gathering and come up with a plan. But let's continue this to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Revisit street closure for Williams Limited April 2017 event. Do we have any further information from Williams?
No, he's.
Then I'd say-
He's moving his band from the corner of Washington and Third
Okay.
up about 3/4 of the way. So they're going to be up there by opposite the restrooms of the state park. And that's where he's going to put the band. And that's so it won't interfere with Donna Esther's, and the restaurants.
Okay.
Down there. And he had entertained where he could put a beer garden up there next to the band and stuff like that.
Okay.
And he's checked with the ABC, and they're agreeable to give him a license to there, and as long as he has, it's going to be just a little trailer. It's not going to be a big event, and then he has to fence it, you know.
Okay. So we had asked for very specific plans.
And, yeah, right.
We don't have that.
No,
I
he
would
just-
suggest that
he
we
just-
continue this or deny it outright.
Totally.
Because we're just not, without more information, I'm personally completely uncomfortable with those.
I'd like to find out what the merchants feel about this.
Well,
I
thought
told him, I
was,
says, the council's primary concern is
Yeah.
that it'll create a conflict with
Right.
the local bars and the restaurants where they're serving alcohol, and he understands that, you
Yeah.
know, and I don't think he's so hard and fast that he wants it. He says it would be nice
Yeah.
for his event, but
well, I think that my recollection of the last meeting and the comments were that we wanted more information, and that at that point we could then we'd have something to take back to the local businesses to get their input and then make some sort of decision.
Yes.
But at this point, I'd say, unless he's going to come back with more information, I would say we should just drop this from our agenda entirely.
and I will so inform him to say that he can't do it there. If he really wants it in the next event, come up with a specific plan.
Yes. Are you guys comfortable with that? Yes. John?
Yes.
Tony?
100%.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, new outreach options, Matt Orbach. Yes, sir.
What was the April event anyway? What is that? Is that
Arts and Crafts?
Arts and Crafts is April?
And it's followed
And then the
a month later with the
rib cook-off
Yeah.
in May. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure. Matt?
So I heard Councilmember DeVries mention earlier that he and John were hired on or elected on a platform of transparency. And before I even got a chance to talk to John the other day or hear that comment, I am coming into this position from a public outreach specialist background with the Soquel Creek Water District in Santa Cruz. And, you know, after I got up to speed with everything going on, I went, man, I wish we had some kind of venue for getting, you know, a little bit more in-depth analysis of some of our planning issues out there. And so I emailed Vanda because I knew she was associated with the Mission Village Voice, and that has a good following here. And I talked to her and Ann Catano, and they said that they would love to have us run a monthly column in Mission Village Voice where we could explore some city-related topic and sort of flush it out a little bit. And then when I met with John, I noticed that on his 15-point list, he mentioned the possibility of having a quarterly newsletter, which is something else I did as a public outreach specialist. So I've done both of these things before, feel very comfortable doing them. I left an example of what a newsletter could look like on the dais for you.
I couldn't read it.
Oh, man.
I know, it's Latin. Placeholder text. But the thing is with the public outreach that both of those things are pretty time consuming, and I don't feel like I would have enough time to do both, as well as all of the other code enforcement and administrative duties and everything else. So I was just kind of looking for council's thoughts on, if you think either of those things are good ideas, what you'd like us to pursue.
I think they're both good ideas. I think you can duplicate them. I think what goes in the Mission Village Voice can go into the water bill. The Strategic Planning Committee had made this recommendation about a year ago, and several cities around Gilroy, Salinas, they do a similar thing, and the newsletters they produce are pretty, pretty in-depth and pretty, not amazing, but, it's and they have basically a full-time person doing it.
Right.
So
that was my job at SoCal, so that was like a 4-pager with
so
things from all the different departments.
So I know what type of work goes into it. However, I do think it's important because if people don't know, they make things up, conspiracy theories arise, misinformation gets spread, and it does everyone a disservice. So we just need more and better communication, and it's a good way to start. And the website improvements we've seen in the past 2 weeks, actually the past year, since Connie threw away the old one and redid all the broken links and redid the new one, and it, it's 100% improved from what it was. I think I'd like to see more links, more stuff on it, like these packets. I mean, she's not here, so we can say this. At city council meetings, usually this gets stuck on Maggie's go-kart, and no one else ever gets to see it. So, that's
This was actually the first packet to be posted in its entirety on the city website. So I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it's on the city clerk page. So
that's fantastic.
In the future, we're
There
gonna.
are other packets that are posted.
Oh, really?
on there, yeah.
Oh, I've never seen.
I couldn't.
I've never been able to find one. So
I couldn't find them, but yeah.
Okay.
yeah. But we're going to make a regular practice of doing that as well,
Okay.
for both planning commission and.
So if you do a monthly column for the Mission Village Voice, I would just put all 3 of them into and call that a newsletter, and throw it in the water.
Well,
I see what you're saying.
hold on a second, because you already do something for them. What city
All I've
council
been
report
doing
do you
is
do?
making.
What city?
Sure.
Can I interview you for a second? What have you done, and what are you anticipating doing in the year ahead as far as reports in the newspaper?
So I have. I am doing a very simple report. Would amount to minutes of the city council meetings in the Mission Village Voice.
Okay.
I have been asked to keep it pretty vanilla and non-political, and so I've tried to leave as much commentary out of it as possible, not to shadow it. Exactly, to put color it with my opinion, but in other areas try to give some background information because there's a tremendous gap, as we've all noted, in people's understanding of the background on a lot of these questions.
And will that go forward?
I will continue to do that unless someone objects or has.
So we have that going in the paper already, which is, and it takes Chris, I'm sure, a long time to do that. It's kind of cool that you do that. Bob Reed used to do that for me for the San Juan Star for years. This would be my thought. Whatever you do in this realm, I think that it would be more helpful if it was digital.
Well, this would be digital as well. That's what actually. We published it in the Times, and then we also, the minute we sent it to them, we actually posted it on our website. So it was obviously there too, and shared digitally as well.
Yeah, you want to put it on Facebook and other outlets.
We have a Facebook page too, so we also put it on Facebook.
So I'm thinking
I'd
social
like to
media.
see that too. Yeah.
But I'm also thinking about, this is one of the things I said when I campaigned. I would really love it if we could. I don't know if we use an existing city website or we create a new one. But I would love very much for anything that's coming before the city, meaning this council and the planning commission, for a decision, can be posted. So the community can understand what the decision is. What's the project in front of the city? What's the decision that needs to be made? What are the pros? What are the cons? And I think in a digital format would be really helpful for that.
Okay.
Yeah. My concern is we've got a pretty good plate for Matt to do. That are pretty important things. Yeah. And I think this is a great idea. And I think if we wanted to budget and hire someone to do that separate from Matt's job, it'd be a wonderful idea. I don't think we have the money, and I think the idea of being transparent, but how much are we going to load Matt down with?
Sure.
And he's got a lot of stuff to learn.
That's a good point. Do you sense that you have the bandwidth to take on something like this?
I was thinking maybe one of the two things. of these specific things if you wanted to do it. Just because these, 600-word column that's actually thoughtful and analytical takes some time to write, and
Takes
you
a
have
long
to go
time
back
to
and editing
write.
process, and but 1 month, that's not too bad. But yeah, in addition to the code enforcement and all the rest, I'm also trying to take some of the building inspection load off of Roger, and so I'm taking a blueprint reading class starting next semester, and I'm going to be going out and doing a lot of these things with him. So I mean, I truly am taking on a lot of different categories here. So
And I think
it's a
that-
good concern. I don't want to overload myself.
That Matt's problem too is he works for Roger, who works way too hard, and I don't want Matt to think that's the pace he's going to make for the whole time. So I think the idea is great, and I like your column because I find out what we did, But
Okay.
I'd really like to have you focus on doing the job that you're growing into full-time.
Tony?
I'm just wondering, I know Ann's got some, I don't think they're staff reporters, but she has reporters. And I just wonder if one of those people could take this job on. I don't really see him doing this. I want him to concentrate on his job, code enforcement, building inspection, learning how to be a city manager, and the budget. This is all wonderful that, okay, we're going to put all this stuff out in front of the public, but I don't think it's his job. I really think, like you said, we either hire somebody or get somebody from Ann's staff. I can't remember her name. There was one lady, she interviewed me about the cemetery and came back nice. And so, I mean, that's just my opinion. I really don't want to see him buried under this stuff.
And
So-
those columns, they look simple when you read them because you can read them in a few minutes.
Yeah. I think,
And let
I
me,
think-
make just an observation.
Uh-huh.
Every hour when Matt and I enter there and we're going through numerous subjects and stuff like that, and he's got that ability to comprehend it. And for him to write it down, it's not going to be monumental to where you have to redo it. It comes natural to him and everything.
Yeah.
And it's not going to, I mean, it's going to cut into some of his time, but it's, I don't have the time to there because I'm so busy technically checking things,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And,
So-
and I interface with him every 15, 20 minutes we're talking, and he knows what's going on and everything. And for him to espouse that in a newsletter is almost second nature to him, it just,
so my comment would be, number one, that I agree strongly with John and Dan that this is an imperative, that improving the communication from the city is an imperative. We are meeting the minimum legal standards by posting 3 days in advance. That, in my mind, is totally inadequate. Realizing that you don't have the bandwidth to do all of the things that we'd all like to see, I would suggest that it be a newspaper article first, that get also posted in a multimedia fashion, not just to the newspaper, but on the website, Facebook page, Twitter, whatever we deem appropriate, because that's a very incrementally small additional work, and that we take up the broader question of additional vehicles and additional staff as part of the budget process in the next couple of months. In fact, hopefully we're going to schedule a goal setting session and we make it part of that. But that would be my input. And I agree with Roger. I've seen your writing. This is not something that's going to take, you're not going to spend a day working on these things. I've seen the responses back and forth, like for instance with the strategic plan committee where it's a half page that's this perfectly put together response in 10 minutes. So I'm very confident that you can enlighten, and that's what we need, is we need to enlighten people and provide a lot more information. So that would be my suggestion, is that we do it as a newspaper article to start with, and we take the cues from what's going on potentially on social media to decide what we start with. Clearly, the water system would be the priority at this point for addressing, that broader issue. And then potentially security with the changes that we've got, we're anticipating talking about that in a broader context, as an.
I could also bring back, this is two sort of big ticket items, but I could bring back sort of a collection of smaller outreach, transparency related things to discuss at our next meeting. Someone mentioned today maybe having a blog, like a city manager blog section on the front page of the website where, let's say Friday we hear all the murmurings about the water bills. We say,
that'd be cool.
Let's back up a little column, put it on the thing, and so people can just say like, hey, this is a response, a really quick response to a current event.
You'll get a lot of traffic on that.
And I think that's
things like that back, and we can discuss them next time.
Well, and that's one of our challenges is that there's so much that the stuff flares on Facebook in particular, and we're not responding. And we're our own worst enemy because we're creating our own PR disaster by not responding to this stuff. Most people, when we get a chance to talk through the process and what in the situation, are reasonably comfortable with it. But we've got to get out there. We've got to get out there and make an effort, and we're just not.
I completely second that. Like what Chris is referring, or Mr. Mayor is referring to in particular, and call you that from now on.
Call me Chris. That's fine.
No, even at Windmill, I'm going to say Mr. Mayor.
Senator?
You can call me Vice.
Okay, I'll call you Vice Mayor. But what he's referring to is we did have a flare-up on Facebook within the last couple of weeks about water. And it was, a lot of people became very energized very quickly.
Yeah.
And I tried to quell things down by just saying, like, I'm getting sworn in on Tuesday. When I do, I'm going to ask that we have a San Juan Bautista Water Forum where we just, like I said earlier tonight.
Yeah.
And that seemed to kind of like, tamper things down a little bit. And people kind of like, okay, good. Well, at least we're talking about it. So the point to that is that oftentimes, I think many times, communication is the key.
Yeah,
if you can just tell people, I heard you, it's important, and this is what we're doing in response to it. That will take care of it 99% of the time, I think.
Yeah, and just so you know, we
Totally
wrote the letter, which actually I had the letter written before that water thing even happened, and then Roger said, how can we get this letter out there quickly, because we were going to send it out in January. So, I posted it on the website, Connie posted it on the website, as well as a link to the water meter information and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I printed out all of those Facebook feeds and took that list to Carmen and I had highlighted every person that mentioned specific dollar values and specific issues, and I had her go through that and write down whether it had been addressed on each one, and almost every single one had been addressed by, adjusting the bills or, explaining the water rate changes. And I mean, we handled this in the last 2 days pretty thoroughly, I think, but it did highlight the challenges of doing what you said, like, say we're listening, we acknowledge there's a problem, we're listening, here's what we're doing about it, and we need to figure out better ways to do that.
And particularly that one restaurant where she just went off the
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
That was a 4-month bill where she didn't address it, and it was completely misrepresented. The fact is that she did not come and sit down with us for 2 months.
Understood.
We kept asking her,
But it goes far beyond, and it's. I mean, we're talking at an 80,000 foot level. The communication has got to be different.
Yes.
Like I said, we're meeting the letter of the law. We're not meeting our. We really do have an obligation, and I mean, as you said earlier, evidenced by the two new people here, very strongly evidenced there. I think I would say. And
let me just say,
it's the right thing to do.
Let me just say this, Mr. Mayor. We don't live in Los Angeles. This is San Juan Bautista. There's like a couple thousand people here. We all know each other. I've known all you guys for a whole long time, right? So we should be able to communicate and have an open book. He was almost my father-in-law. Did you guys know that, by the way? I almost had to call him Dad. It came real close. He had an engagement ring and everything. But that's my point, is that we all know each other. So why not communicate?
Why would you say that on television, for God's sakes?
We all know each other. So, God, for goodness sakes, why can't we be transparent and communicate to one another? Let this little village know what we're doing, what's going on. Now in the age of social media, it's very easy to do. We just post it on something, you know, whether it's a
Well, it'd be great for
blog
us
or
if,
a
in the
web
meantime,
page or
between now and
whatever.
the next meeting, you guys could talk to your
Absolutely.
constituents and figure out how they get their news. I mean, I know Twitter is not going to work with the demographics in this town. So, for example, and so if you guys could check with your constituents, and say, hey, how do you want to get news from the city?
Facebook.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's not.
It's
I
Facebook.
think this is one of the keys. Is there's not one answer to this.
Yeah.
It probably does need. There's plenty of people in this town that need a piece of paper, but the 80-20 Facebook gets us a huge leap forward with very little effort.
But you can quickly become a slave to Facebook, so I
Yeah.
also don't want to
No,
have to be moving around and comment on what's going on.
There was a
So-
reporter tonight from Benito Link. I don't know if you, Lady Farr.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah, and, you know, and so that is a viable newspaper in a digital format.
Sure.
And possibly we need to interact with Benito Link because they're not an adversarial newspaper. They're not like Woodward and Bernstein trying to get Richard Nixon or something. You know, it's just. Is that too old a reference for you, Dan?
No,
Deep Throat? Are you kidding me? I know all about Deep Throat. I'll talk Watergate all day long.
They will work with us. They're good people. You know, and we can send things to them, and I think they'll put it up on their website, which is a lot. It's more Hollister dominated than it is San Juan, but it's a good.
There's value to it. I agree. Okay. So, are you comfortable with the feedback we've given you?
Yeah. Did you want to give me a specific directive to start doing the newsletter and then to bring back other options, or do you want to just wait on all of it until we talk more about it next time?
No, I think we should start immediately. And as I said, my suggestion is that we start with an article for the newspaper, which would be due toward the end of this week, I think, or next week.
Yeah.
Are you guys comfortable with that as a starting point?
3 days.
And then having that stuff
Sorry
posted on
for that
social
one.
media in addition?
Yeah.
Or would you like to see a different direction?
I just don't know how effective it's going to be.
Well, let's see.
Where's the newsletter going to go?
It would go in the water bills.
So, I'm sorry,
And digitally on the website and all that stuff.
I would suggest that we do it as an article in the newspaper,
Yeah, nobody
and then
reads
that
water
also
bills.
get posted.
Same thing though.
Well, it's not necessarily, because the article would be more directed. I think your intent was to direct it toward a single issue.
That was my thought, but you can really spread them out too, but it'll just be a little, you can't do it as in-depth analysis with 600 words of multiple topics, so
So this goes in the water bill,
that would go in the water bill, yeah.
and it also gets published in Annie's paper. Okay.
Oh, no. That wouldn't get published in the paper. That's why I separated those two options.
So you have to write two pieces, one for the water
That's
bill
why
and one for
I
the
said I
paper.
could do one or the other.
Yeah, it's too much. I don't know.
I think you ought to start it, and then we're going to ask Roger if you're still able to do everything you're supposed to.
Do you feel strongly one direction or the other?
I think it's kind of feckless, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't know how many people are going to read it. I know what they do read, and they read Facebook. So
Well-
if we really wanted, it's Matt, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we really wanted Matt to use his time, because something like this, I'm looking at pictures, it's like super beautiful, right? It's going to take you a while to do something like this. If you wanted to have him devote the most effective hours that he could devote towards transparency, communication to the public, I would say jump on Facebook, on the blog, what's it called? What's going on San Juan Bautista, and just post something on there. I think it'll take you a tenth of the time of doing something like this, and it's cheaper.
I would also recommend that we put a fancied up version on the website, you know, and not that much fancier, but, you know.
Right.
Facebook posts tend to be, you know, kind of off the top of the head, stream of consciousness type of comment, and, you know, on the website it should be a little more thought out.
I mean, okay, so if we do the Facebook, just so you know, we're going to have to come back with a whole social media policy in terms of whether we respond to comments and whether we do all the rest of that stuff, which is fine. But we definitely can't do that at this meeting, so I'd have to come back to you with a whole proposed strategy for that.
That would be my vote.
Okay.
My vote would be that Matt give that a little bit of thought, because you're exactly right. Like someone pops up, like
Yeah.
You
Oh, yeah.
you blankety blanks, you charge me, $250 for my water this month, and, do you respond? When do you respond? Maybe the policy is no response. Maybe there's a time when you do need to, but I think that all needs to be really thoughtful.
Sure. Okay.
But if what we're looking for as a council is to maximize transparency, communication, and so forth, that's the way you do it. I think if you just stuff a bunch of I think you're going to spend a bunch of time. It's going to be really beautiful, and it's going to get put in the bill, and people are just going to go.
Yeah.
And
At Granite Rock, we do this. We have a staff of 4.
Right.
And yours is called rock, paper, scissors.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's digital.
Yes. It's all digital.
Yep.
We gave up the paper. Although we do print them out for the quarry.
Okay. Are you, so do we, it sounds like we want to send it back to staff to work on a
I think so.
policy?
Yeah.
And then, because
I'm
we
strongly
want the
in favor-
focus to be
I'm strongly in favor of
Facebook.
Facebook.
Okay, good.
And adding to the website as soon as we can get going.
Me too.
Okay.
Me
Tony,
too.
any further?
Yeah, my comments I made before, I didn't want to see that. It buried in this and.
Okay. Okay, I think you have your direction.
Yep.
Thank you.
And in the meanwhile, just before we leave, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, you're going to continue to do your.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So he's going to continue to do his column monthly in the
Yeah.
newspaper. So we don't need him and you. Let's go a different direction with what you're going to do.
Yep.
Because I don't think anybody reads his thing. to be honest.
Probably not.
I do. I read it to see what the hell happened.
Okay. 8D, schedule a special meeting for a workshop on goal setting. This is something I've wanted us to do, the council to do, since I got on the council. We have not done this. I would like very much for us to get together as a group on I would suggest that we do it on a weekend where we can spend an extended period of time going through. For instance, John had his 15-point list that he published on Facebook during the election. I've got my laundry list of wants and wishes for stuff to happen here in the city. I know Dan does. We talked some about that. Presumably you guys do as well. So I would like very much to, and I would suggest Saturday, January 16th for that meeting. And that would include, as the lead item, Dan's suggestion from earlier this evening for a water forum, did you call it? Water issues forum. So those would be the 2 agenda items, a goal-setting session for the council, and the meeting would start with a water forum.
What date?
The 14th?
Saturday?
The 14th of January.
What would you think about this, Mr. Mayor? We start at 10
Yep.
with water, 10 to noon, break for lunch, and then after lunch,
Reconvene.
we
Absolutely.
reconvene, and then if the public can go, we can
Yeah, well, and
do our brainstorming session.
Absolutely. I think that's great.
That sounds pretty cool.
How does that calendar date work for you guys? Okay. So, John, does that work for you?
Saturday 14th works for me.
Okay, so that's 4, Jim? Okay. So I think let's, pending perhaps Tony's feedback, let's...
What kind of notice do we need, Deb, Brett?
You would need to notice it as a special meeting.
Which
So
is
that
how long?
10 days or 20?
No, it's just 24 hours for a special meeting.
Okay, but we don't want to do...
24 hours?
Yeah,
For a special meeting.
but, yeah, well, particularly in view of the content, we probably want to start talking about it immediately.
Oh, believe me, I will.
Good.
I'll let the public know.
Okay.
Because they're going to be super excited. And it's
Now,
gonna be
I would really like to know your ideas in terms of format, because it's going to make a really big difference, and you might want to treat the 2 parts differently in terms of format too, because the way it sounded like your proposal for the water forum was to have us, this is what I was thinking when I heard it, give a presentation touching on those 4 or 5 areas that you mentioned, to get all the information out there, and then my guess is you probably want a forum for public response after that. And just see what
You're
people
exactly
have
right,
to say.
Matt.
Yes.
No, you're absolutely right. So my vision for the water forum is that we hear from all of the city retained experts on and let's start from the source. So do we still have Lloyd Bracewell, by the way?
Yeah.
We do? So can Lloyd talk about the well, Roger? Is he the best guy to talk about the well?
He's preparing it now because we've been working on it for about 3 weeks with that state moratorium on the water connection, and we have to submit that to the state anyway.
Okay. So maybe we have Lloyd talk about the well. Here's the current well we have. Here's the pros of it. Here's the cons of it. Here's the pluses, the minuses. Here's what we could do for a source as an alternative. We could dig a new well. Here's the cost of what a new well would cost. Here's the location where it might be. All that stuff. So that's source. And then delivery. What's the status of our infrastructure with delivery? What are our underground pipes looking like? And then quality. That might be Lloyd Bracewell also, I don't know. But what are the nitrate levels? Is the quality improving? Not improving? Is there an opportunity to improve it? If we do this pellet softening thing, will that improve quality? What does quality of water look like? And then lastly, billing. What's the situation with the new meters? What's the situation on cost, and how are people being billed?
We need to tell the people that there's two new systems. There's the meters themselves, and then the new software that goes with it. And it's been my experience in putting together large databases for a company I used to work for, that when you change vendors or change software systems, you go through a period of debugging, and you go through a period of problems and issues, and sometimes they're huge, and sometimes they're minor.
Okay.
The water meters are usually, I've sold Hayes, and I've sold Octojets, and I've sold Badgers, and they're usually reliable. It's very rarely you get a bad meter, 1 in a million, but the meters I used to sell always had a 4 to 20 milliamp signal going to a controller. Now the controller's screwed up all the time, and so that's what you read with, and that's where your errors can come in.
Hate when that happens.
Okay, so
Matt, hear from the experts, go through those topics. So that's 10 to 11, right? And then 11 through 12, or 11 to 11:30, open mic. People get to stand up and just say how ticked off they are about their water bill, or how upset they are about the nitrate level, or whatever. Let's just get it out there, man.
Yeah.
Let's just face it head on.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we gotta deal with these people at Windmill or something. So let's give them a microphone and let them just get it out. And then we'll have our experts there, and maybe so and so can say, well, can you respond to Mrs. Jones who had that question? Or maybe there's something that the council can say, or Roger can say,
right?
And we can try to move the ball forward.
Yeah.
I don't envision the water forum as being a time when everything is going to get solved. Instead I envision it as a time where things are communicated and people understand where we are.
Good.
And I like that we're doing the informative part first rather than the open mic first, because I think that will answer
a
lot of the questions that would come up in open mic.
That would be
so.
And it might prompt questions too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second half, because that one seemed to me more of like a group discussion.
Yes.
Maybe you that one you can start maybe with the priorities of the public. I don't know. Jim,
Well, I'd like to have my vision is a very informal brainstorming session where we just talk about it's essentially an open mic intended for us, and then feedback from the public on priorities in the community, what we've got on our list, and it's going to include stuff that we're already working on diligently, and then we're going to take it using a brainstorming format, some weighted voting perhaps amongst ourselves to generate some consensus about where we want to prioritize, and also identify areas that we want to focus our budget changes. There's been a lot of discussion about website and media outreach, and what may come out of this is that is a top priority for us, and we're very interested in potentially hiring somebody to take that role on, because we think it's that important. But I do also want this to get ahead of the budget process, because I think we have a tendency to be very reactive. Roger comes to us with what amounts to a completed budget, and I'd like us to be providing more direction, in a longer term view. We're not having that sort of interaction. We're much more reactive. So that's my hope, is that we can use it like a brainstorming session.
Small steps.
Oh no, lots of steps. No, lots of great steps forward. The plate, we're many changes, but as I've said a number of times here and to people outside, I think we have a very strong tendency in San Juan to look inside and not pay attention to what's going on around us, and that is one of the themes in my mind. We've got to be looking and paying attention. That's why your experience with the Planning Commission with the county is a tremendous value to us, and that perspective is a tremendous value to us. We've got to be paying attention to what's going on around us, because there's changes happening that we're totally unaware of. So, okay, so I'll get off my soapbox.
So you're using a 12 to 1 lunch break, and then 1 to
something
whenever,
like that.
1 to whenever.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So water forum, okay, we're done.
Followed
See
by-
you guys later. We're gonna break for lunch, and then we reconvene, and then that's more kind of an in-house thing.
Okay.
But duly agendized and noticed and everything.
Right, exactly. Okay, so any other questions or comments on that item? No? Okay. E, consider a policy for addressing underutilized, neglected, and public nuisance properties. I asked for this to be added to the agenda, and given the hour, what I would say is I would love to get some feedback from staff and the city attorney on what tools we have available to us to address derelict properties, empties, unmaintained, and substandard properties, particularly in the downtown area. Because it is a tremendous resource for the city, and it's not helping us. We need it to work for us.
And I'd like to have you guys look at there's 3 sections that we use in the municipal code, and that's property maintenance, property dilapidated buildings, and then weed abatement and stuff. And those are the 3 major things where we address property that's run down.
Okay.
Try to get it in. Maybe we have to change the ordinance and make it a little bit better.
Well, I actually asked Chris to put this on the agenda. This is one of my ideas. I'm looking to drive growth in 3rd Street in our commercial business. And, and I'm looking at what's called the brewery, and it was last occupied in 2007. And in late November, Rebecca McGovern died, and her partner followed I think it was 2 months later. So that'd be early 2008, January, February 2008. Since then, nobody's occupied, no one's used that. That's, prime property, interest. One of the first things you see, and, we've heard excuse after excuse after excuse. It's been 9 years of excuses. So, that's not necessarily a dump or a derelict property, and it doesn't need weed abatement, but it needs a tenant, and it needs a owner who's going to get out and I don't want to hear about it's a divorce. People have gotten married, divorced, remarried, and re-divorced in the amount of time that one guy's bitching about his one divorce.
You talking to me?
So, we need to encourage people to utilize their property. Just not that's hurting all San Juan.
Yeah, I agree. Can I get a little bit more specific than that? What I'm really interested in. You can't hear me if I don't talk on this, right? Yeah. Now can you hear me better now? All right. I am really interested in the parking lot, Deborah, that is next to the Basque restaurant. Mm-hmm. That was the subject of litigation in the 80s, early 90s, I believe, between Ralph Lopez versus City of San Juan Bautista, and somehow, some way, think Becky McGovern was involved in this. That lot was set aside, this is my understanding, as overflow parking for the Posada Hotel. And Mary Lopez has kept it chained up ever since.
She doesn't own it.
I don't think that's right.
What?
It's not Mary.
It's
The
a guy
owner of
that
the
owns
clock
the clock
shop
shop.
owns it, and he's refused. I've talked to him a dozen times why he doesn't open it up, and he
Can I-
says, no, I'm not going to do it.
Okay, wait, hold on.
So-
Hold on. I gotta get caught up in my history. How did the clock shop guy get it?
Can we, he always owned it.
But did,
Lopez leased the property.
You don't know this? I knew this.
well, shut up. Would you just shut up for a second?
I was there.
I know
was
that.
there.
I know you were. That's why I'm asking you.
Rebecca McGovern got a friendly
Hold on,
charge.
time out for just a second. This is getting pretty far off the subject, and I'd like to.
It's a dilapidated property, and I thought that's what.
Do you?
Just to clear it up.
No,
Let me clear
no,
it up.
Tony. Pardon me, Tony. Hold on for just a moment.
Sitting here for
I know.
an hour listening to
We're
you guys.
just wait a moment. So I have suggested that we continue this. Ask for a staff report.
Okay.
Do you want to continue with this
No.
item?
No.
It's okay.
No.
just
Obviously, my history is not accurate. But who cares about whether my history is accurate or not? What is true right now is that's not utilized
Correct.
parking for us.
Absolutely
So
agree.
the question is, what can we do to break that log jam? Is there an opportunity there? Who do we have to talk to? Is it the clock shop guy? Is it Mary's daughter?
Yeah.
Who is it? What needs to happen? I thought it was a legal thing. That's why I asked Deborah.
And we can get a report there. I extensively talked to him why we can't use it, and he just flat says, no, I
Okay.
don't want anybody using it. And then I go to Virginia Lou on the other side of it and wrote her letters and says, we'll even lease it and improve it and put lights on the pavement. Nope,
Okay.
I don't want anything to do with it.
So
And those are two prime
Yeah.
parking lots.
So
and we really ain't
this is
done
what we
that.
want. This is what we want to discuss. Is our mechanisms for dealing with these sorts of issues.
Right.
And so, well, okay. So that's a possibility.
That's an avenue, but.
That's
Yeah,
you still got to pay for it. Okay. So the city attorney and city staff going to report back to us at the next council meeting. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for getting me back on track. I don't want to spend an hour talking about Mary Lopez either. But
Okay, so creation of a living project list for the new domestic water wells and pellet plant construction. I would suggest that
Part of our meeting.
be part of our meeting on the 14th. Maybe that project list comes out of that event. But I would like to see something, and Matt, you and I were talking about this actually before the meeting. There's a number of areas where my observation is that we have, as a council, we're not consistent in our follow-up from meeting to meeting, and we need to do a better job of that. And that's one of my issues personally for this council over the next year, is that we're going to not have things drop off because we've sort of forgotten a month later. We need to continue to follow up, and clearly the water issues are the most pressing issues in town. And so I'd like to see a checklist,
Yeah.
and it followed up every month and reported on. So.
Yeah, my board of directors at Soco Creek Water District always wanted some sort of a dashboard, very similar with all the projects, and then they could know when things were completed. And that's one of the things I'm working on, both with very small specific projects with Public Works, so that we can report back on things, but then also with the bigger, longer term projects as well. So
Okay.
that would be sweet.
Okay. Any questions, comments on that? No. Okay. Okay. Curb painting schedule citywide. I don't think this necessarily needs to be here, but
that could go on the list. We just talked
that
about
could
it.
go on the list. Anybody object to
Generally, we try to
continuing
do the
that?
curb painting right before the start of school and then during the spring.
Okay, it came up because there have been some requests. Mr. Mora came and spoke to us about issues concerning parking in front of his house. And I would very much like to see that addressed very soon, rather than waiting for, some, months down the road. That seems like a fairly simple one for us to make somebody very happy. But that was what prompted that. I don't know if you guys were included on that. And I can't remember, Mr. Mora lives on 3rd Street. He has a driveway that is continually being blocked by people parking just right smack dab in the middle of his driveway. That's one issue, but he's also has a fairly large truck and has trouble swinging the turn because people encroach on the cut-ins on the sides of the driveway. So he came and spoke to us, and there was some concerns on Lang Street, also on Pierce, where it appears that somebody's painted the red curb white. I suspect that was probably the people that live there, not wanting to have to park around the corner, but obviously the sheriff's department won't do any enforcement. Anyway.
Okay.
So we're going to continue that. Additional stop signs. That, again, I would suggest we continue, but that needs to be on our list, and it's been a discussion item unless you guys want to discuss it now.
What, curbs or
No, the stop sign at Franklin and 3rd and the soccer field driveways.
No, I didn't think about that.
Okay, so we can.
We have the plan, and I think Joe's ordered the signs, and they're going out now and marking where the posts are going to go.
Okay. Comments from the council? John, anything?
Just thank the public that I'm here. I appreciate it. Hope to make a difference.
Tony? Okay. I would just like to welcome the two of you to the new council, and thank you guys for giving me the honor of serving as mayor. Thank you.
Do you have to wear a hat?
No.
I think it should be a tall, pointy hat.
You can.
Be spotted anywhere in town. Here's the mayor. You need a tall, pointy hat.
You can put that on the agenda for next month.
I just want to say that I too am glad to be back in this room. Was in here for a long, long time, and I'm glad to be back. And one of the things that you said, Mr. Mayor, caught my attention, which is that we have to be aware of what's going on around us, and in the county, in the region, and especially the South Bay, because there's a lot of giant forces that are being applied to our community, and I think we all need to pay attention to those forces and how they're going to impact us. And that is true with regard to traffic, housing, prices, a lot of stuff. So, I've been kind of attuned to that. I want you guys to know too that I am going to stay involved with the county on some level, but my last meeting with the County Planning Commission after 12 years will be in January.
Wow.
And then I'm all yours full time.
Jim?
Right, Dad?
Well, I'm glad to be here too. I'm glad you guys are here, and new blood, new thoughts. It's hard to get stuff going, and I'm now off the hospital board, so
good.
This is my job.
Good. City manager?
I'm just glad that the dialogue here, and I'm really excited about promoting downtown, and Dan brought up a good subject that I'm very partial to, is parking, and I've been after it to try to develop more parking and then really promote new businesses downtown. That's really the key for us.
What I'm trying to do too. So just
Parking, critically important.
Deborah?
I just wanted to report that the Dadwell convenience store gas station was brought in front of the court, and the court looked at the action of the city council and found that the city council satisfied the expectations of the court and conformed with SECRA requirements and entered judgment on this on Monday. So the project can start moving forward unless there is an appeal received to the Court of Appeals on the project.
Okay. Thank you. Motion to adjourn? Anyone? Second, anyone?
Second it, I'll second it.
All in favor?